The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Oh, what a weekend this is about to be. St. Patty's Day looming on Sunday.
Hell yeah.
But when St. Patrick's Day is on a Sunday, I believe the old adage is that it really starts on Friday. I mean, it just means you have a 3-day.
Yeah.
What it means is limp to the finish line Sunday, get it all out of your system tonight and tomorrow night. And then you could St. Patrick's Day can be a day of recovery that way. Who am I kidding? What am I talking about? People are going to be raging Sunday all day long, as well they should.
Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. And if you're out this weekend, especially if you're just somewhere in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, anyway, boy, make sure you take advantage of those rideshare services. You don't want to be driving drunk, okay? If you're out and you're having a great night, I would suggest maybe call an Uber or even a Lyft. And then even if you're not drinking, get them in while you can, because apparently on May 1st, those two services will be, they're saying, gone for Minneapolis. The city council overruled a mayoral veto. Here's what's basically going on. Uber and Lyft don't pay their employees minimum wage, and the city of Minneapolis says you should. And so now the city council goes, sorry, you got to pay minimum wage. And Lyft and Uber, being the Silicon Valley greedmongers they are going, no, we're out.
Yeah.
New York City did this. Seattle did this. They still operate in those cities. I think Minneapolis is a test market. I think Uber and Lyft are just trying to see if they can, how much leverage they have. Because, again, other cities, larger markets have done the same thing, and they've decided to stay put. So I think there's something they're feeling like they can leverage Minneapolis into the corner. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. And, by the way, the other cities didn't do it like Minneapolis is doing it. To quote The Simpsons, worst city council ever. You folks, please get the hell out of town as quickly as you can. There's a way to do it. It needs to come into state legislation, and there was a right way to do it. The mayor tried to get that done the right way, but this city council has their own mind and their own way to ruin a city. That's going to be cramping the style. I don't think I'll be partying around the metro quite as much because I'm an Uber Lyft person. Yeah.
If you want to see me ever again, I would suggest coming out in the next couple weeks.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Man, there's the leverage play. Forget what Uber and Lyft think they have.
It's like not even so much about drinking. It is, because even if I have a couple, like I'll still take an Uber, but it's just something that I do. I just don't want to drive downtown. I don't want to drive late at night.
Yep,
sure.
Parking and everything. By the time you pay for parking downtown, you've paid for an Uber or a Lyft. And I use it frequently to go out. But I guess I think I still have that old cab number. What was that? 2222222 or something? Are they still out there? 333. Was it 3? All right, it might have been 3. I
had to call it from jail.
To look that up. Yeah, call it from jail.
That's the only number I knew.
Yeah. Let's pump the brakes. Please, let's take this off ramp.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Remind us.
Well, maybe. I mean, let's hope they're bluffing a little bit. Let's hope there's some room for to do this in the right way, because everyone wants to see your Uber and Lyft drivers taken care of. It's why I tip generously, and I do, because I know they get the tips, and I know just how much they get screwed over. Sometimes I just talk to them and ask them, and strike up a little conversation, and it's embarrassing what Uber and Lyft does. I'm not letting them off the hook at all, but you got to do it in the right way, because they are, these giants that can blackmail and, bend people over. So apparently in Seattle and New York, I was reading how they did it, and they seem to just do it a little bit better. They worked with Uber and Lyft instead of against them in a defiant manner, like we seem to.
Well, it's definitely. Without digging too deep, because I have not been paying very close attention. I knew this was an issue going on, and all the points I think are relevant. And the primary one is those things going away is going to really impact in a negative way, and the way a lot of people feel comfortable getting around, especially at night. And so I do imagine this will be resolved. I would be shocked if after May 1st both those companies go away. for more than a week. They might, everybody might, this Mexican standoff might truly just stop and everyone's got their guns pointed at each other. But eventually they're going to come back because, the first time I took an Uber was 2013. So we're 11 years roughly into that. That was in Boston. And I still remember the awe I felt looking at an app and hitting a button and then a car just pulling up. I could not fathom how cool the future was. And the idea that it might be going away is pretty rough. It is St. Patrick's Day weekend, however. We've got Dean Del Rey coming in at 9:30. Great comic who's at Acme. He was there last night. He'll be there the next 2 nights. Later in the show today, we're also talking with one of my favorite actors, a guy that you know from a million things. You might not know the name David Morse, but believe me, you've seen him. Been doing it at a very high level for 40 years. I'm excited about the show. I'm excited about getting into St. Patrick's Day. I mean, I feel like I'm a kind of a lucky guy, and I think luck is a fine topic for the day.
Yeah, I love it. I'm feeling pretty lucky myself. Doesn't have to be centered around St. Patrick's Day. Just when have you been lucky? Well, we're feeling lucky. A bunch of things are popping into my head, whether it's a moment or just life in general. We're going to get into the luck of the Irish and what are those kooky Canadians up to now? We have a story that just can't be true, but it is, and we're talking about it here at 6:17. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend, one and all. It is Friday, March 15th. If your name is not Julius and or Caesar, you're probably going to be fine today. If it is, swivel head. Just look out, man. The Ides of March, historically speaking, kind of rough. Kind of rough on the Caesars of the world. Boy, our friends up north are fun, aren't they? Canadians, those wacky Canucks.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Man, they're the nicest folks in the world. I only know one Canadian joke, but I've always loved it. And it speaks to their kind and gentle nature. And it's this. How do you get all the kids out of the pool at the end of the day if you're a lifeguard in Canada? And the answer is you stand up and go, okay, guys, pool's closed. Then everybody just leaves. And they don't even think about staying one extra second.
Stephen Colbert had a pretty good one night. He said, Canada, a country that's so lame, their national anthem is, Oh, Canada.
That's pretty good.
I remember that.
That's really good. I do love the melody. It's a beautiful song. Good. As far as anthems go,
sure.
You could do a lot worse.
Right.
But now Toronto, which by the way, Toronto is a ginormous city. I mean, that's the biggest city in Canada. It's a world city. It's a wonderful place. I've been there many times. I love Toronto. But car thievery is running rampant apparently in Toronto. Well, I don't know if it's running rampant, but the numbers are up. There is a demand, if you will, for car theft. It's a market economy. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. People are stealing cars a lot in Toronto, more than over the last few years. Toronto police are suggesting some unusual advice on how to deal with this. And this is not just cars being stolen from, like, say, parking decks or ramps or parking lots and public streets. There have been a recent outbreak of people breaking into homes. And then, you're a terrified homeowner. Someone breaks into your house, and then they demand your car keys. They're going into the house and saying, let's make this easier for all of us. Just give me the keys. I don't want to break a window, and you're scared to death, so you'll hand them over.
Why don't you use your gun in the house? Oh, wait, it's Canada. That's Canada. Right. They restricted that last year, a freeze on handgun sales and licenses for most Canadians. Okay, well, let's find out how that turned out for them.
Well, the police in Toronto have some unusual advice. One constable at a recent community meeting said, listen, to prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, why don't you just leave your key fobs, your car key fobs, at the front door? They're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else.
Right.
So just do this. Now there's video of this guy addressing a neighborhood community meeting. Now, granted, most of the people in that meeting from the community are elderly. It's an older group of people. And so what he's basically saying is, look, you don't want a violent confrontation. Trust me, it's better to lose a car than anything else. Mm-hmm. But it is a little odd to hear a cop say, just put your key fob at the front door.
Here he is.
To prevent
the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door. Because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns.
Yeah.
They're loaded.
Yeah, they didn't follow the laws. They're bad people. They have guns, and now Canadians don't. But, yeah, I mean, leave a little bowl of candy for them, too, if you could. Why don't you just leave it in the frickin' car? Why don't you, why do they have to look around for the key, under the mat or what? Do you just leave it on the front doormat then? I don't understand what the advice is here exactly.
I can tell you the first time I ever approached a house on Halloween and there was a bowl of candy with a note that said, "Honor system, please just take one." That's just not how that works.
That's not how that works. I mean, it's... good luck to them, but it's politicians meaning well, but they just can't see past their own face. We're just talking about it with our Minneapolis City Council here. We all want Uber and Lyft drivers to be paid fairly and make a decent wage and keep them on the streets, but that's not what's happening. But yeah, I mean, Canada, come on, grab your ankles. That's what you're going with.
It's definitely not. There are plenty of parts of Toronto where this advice would fall on deaf ears. And again, if you're talking about just everything is contextual, I guess, but this does seem to be a little silly. Now, I remember in the mid '90s in my neighborhood, I lived in Atlanta, and I used to park. We had two cars. We had a garage for one, and then the other car was on the street, and it was an old, like an '80s Toyota Land Cruiser, like one of those old boxy, cool ones. That I found used, but there were a lot of break-ins on my street. There was a lot of people, and it was just crimes of opportunity. You see something in a car, and it was kind of common sense. Don't leave anything in your car that you don't want someone to think is worth something. I wouldn't leave there wasn't a CD I would leave on the front seat. I just kept it pretty clean if it was parked on the street. Mm-hmm. And then at some point I realized, well, I might as well just unlock the doors too. I mean, if they're going to open it and rifle through it, why make them break a window to do that? And I did that, and I never had a problem with it, but I never felt good about it. It didn't I wasn't gaming the system. I was like, this kind of sucks. I got to leave my car unlocked just because someone might. And several times I got up in the morning and the passenger door was open and the glove box was open and someone had rifled through it. There was nothing there. But the idea that was, the best we could do at the time, that's kind of a drag. This is not something that's going to, over time, make anybody feel any better. Honey, did you turn off the back porch light? Uh-huh. Did you put the fob at the mailbox at the front door? Oh, crap, I forgot.
Right, and make sure it's filled with gas. Don't leave it empty. It's rude. You don't want them running out of gas a couple of miles down the road. Then they're going to have to steal your neighbor's car. So.
No, honey, get a 6 of Labatt's Blue and put it in the passenger seat. maybe that way we can get them busted for drunk driving and we'll get the car back.
Madness.
That's a tough one.
No, I have some friends. I mean, Montana. It doesn't get any more. Everybody in Montana, you have to have a gun in Montana. If you don't have a gun, then you have to pick one up from a little box at the state border and have it on you at all times. And there are people at trailheads that go hiking, and the recommendation from the local authorities is leave your car unlocked because they're robbing cars at the trailhead and they're just going to break your window. You can clean up a bunch of glass, or you can just take all the valuables out of your car, put them in the trunk or whatever, and so it's a mad, mad, mad world, man. It's all the more reason to celebrate.
No kidding. It's but so far, here's the luck of the Irish. My car hasn't been broken into. Since what? 1990? I guess probably 7. The last time I noticed somebody rifling through my car. So I'm on a tear. Every bicycle I've ever owned was stolen, but that's a different story.
Yeah, let's talk about luck. The luck of the Irish this weekend. Tell us about the time you got lucky. I'm not talking about the time you scored. Good for you. Or maybe, I don't know, we have a KQ Facebook post up. I see Michelle's already jumped on there. Snowmobiling a week ago in the mountains. Whiteout conditions. Lucky to make it back to the cabin alive.
Nice.
Well, that's a form of luck, certainly.
Sure.
Or give us a call. We'd love to hear from you this morning. 651-989-ROCK. Call or text on that line. And it is Movie Review Friday with none other than Mike Evans here shortly. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, so chances are we're going to hear about a movie or two. It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Good morning, Steve and Zap and Tony. Oh, good morning, Candace. You know, what better way to enjoy a weekend than sometime during the two-day celebration? Go see a movie, and go see it at Marcus Theaters. Marcus Theaters, the best theater chain in the entire country. And usually on Fridays, we do movie reviews. And what an easy Friday movie review it is today. Oppenheimer, rated R, 4 stars. Cabrini, rated PG-13, 4 stars. Dune 2, rated PG-13, 3.5 stars. Bob Marley, One Love, rated PG-13, 3 stars. And take the kids to see Kung Fu Panda 4, rated PG, 3 stars. All of these movies are playing at Marcus Theaters. Check them out. You're going to love them. Some TV news. One of my favorite series was Ozark. You guys like that? I mean, Jason Bateman, also one of my favorite actors. And while he hasn't done a lot since Ozark, by his choice, by the way, get ready for a great movie starring Jason Bateman coming to Netflix this summer called Carry On. Carry On. It's about a mysterious traveler who blackmails a young TSA agent into letting him carry on a dangerous package, let it slip through security, and onto a Christmas Day flight. It's supposed to be thrilling. Oh, and Jason Bateman and Jude Law will play brothers in a new Netflix series called Black Rabbit. Jude's character owns a big nightclub in New York, and his brother, played by Jason, is out to destroy him. I hear it's going to be a good series. You know, almost every celebrity I've ever talked to or known loves dogs. I know you guys have dogs. I love my dog, Bogey, although he's more like a double bogey. But anyway, and it seems that Yorkies are the breed of choice for celebrities. Demi Moore, Justin Bieber, Giselle Bundchen, Naomi Watts, they all have Yorkies. Here's a funny story for you, and Steve, I know you'll appreciate this. When the Denver Broncos signed quarterback Russell Wilson, that week Russell adopted a Yorkie and named the puppy Bronco. But since being released by the Denver Broncos, and it was ugly, Russell says his Yorkie puppy Bronco is definitely the best thing to come out of his Denver experience. Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, and in case you forgot, we do it every Friday. It's Aloha Friday. No work till Monday. We're going to play today, Aloha Friday. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. Lily Yokalani and Londiani okay. Laku and the cock and knock and hooey, 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 ho.
Aloha.
Boy, you can't name a dog after the team you just signed with. I mean, this is a lesson for all of us.
Of course, now he's going to the Steelers, so he's going to have to shoot the dog.
Well, yeah, of course. You can't bring a dog called Bronco into Steeltown.
Better not. In fact, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Let's bring Bronco to the Steelers and leave Russell Wilson somewhere else.
Just rename him. Rename him French fries on the sandwich.
I know. I have some family...
They love that in Pittsburgh, man. That's all I hear about.
They do. Maybe
I get it. I get it. It's not on this. On this. Great. What else you got for me? Enough already.
Yeah. A little chipped ham.
It's just how they go. What, Steel City's up here any good?
It's been the last Steel City. Yeah, the last time I had one of those would have been the Super Bowl they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not gonna say the Steelers didn't lose. Let's say it. O'Donnell lost it. O'Donnell lost to the Cowboys. But anyway, I had one back then. I think it was a fine beer. At the time,
I'm sure it did the job. I doubt anybody was complaining in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was cold. It was in a can. What else did you need?
That's it.
I love history.
I'm going to tell you something that I learned.
Do it. Go ahead.
Tell me, Steve.
Oh, I'll tell you. Let's go back to 1869, which is, frankly, a really long time ago. For the first time, a baseball team composed completely of professionals played their first game. That team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings. later, of course, shorten that to Reds. The Red Stockings beat a team from Antioch College 41-7. Baseball, 41-7. The Red Stockings' average annual salary was $950. For the first time ever, a team was completely made up of people being paid to play. They went 51-0 that year. Jeez.
And it was $950 for the season.
Yeah, $950 for the annual salary. Yeah. $1,869. That's probably pretty good.
Yeah, right.
On this day in 1991, Sergei Bubka of the Soviet Union became the first athlete to pole vault over 20 feet at a meet in Spain. He went 20 feet, 1/4 inch. And I just want to say, first of all, has anyone, have any of us ever tried to pole vault at any level? Have you?
My senior year, yeah. So I didn't want to. It was I was graduating. I only went out for track to just try and get out of some farm work and that sort of thing. Anyway, but so my senior year of track, I decided not to do it. I was going to party my way out of my senior year, and they said, "Oh, come on, Zep, can you come on and do?" I said, "All right, I'll run one race, the 1,400 meter relay. I'll anchor that for you, and then all I'm going to do is pole vault." And started pole vaulting my senior year. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I can watch anything athletic. Like first time I watched a game of cricket, I was like, I could see myself doing that. First time I watched rugby, Australian rules football, anything I've never seen, any weird sport. When I watch the hammer throw or the shot put, when I watch team handball, I go, I could try that. I watch pole vaulting and I think, I couldn't even see myself attempting it.
No, the second you're upside down, you'd start to scream.
Getting the thing to plant in that hole, like Luke Skywalker trying to blow up the Death Star. I'd be worried about just that, landing the pole where it's supposed to go, and then just
trying not to crotch the bar.
Oh my God, trusting that I'm going to thrust myself up and keep moving forward. I've seen 1 or 2 times when the person, you can tell they kind of lose heart and they start up and then they fall backwards, and that's all it took for me. I was like, oh, that'd be me every time.
Oh, I did a whole lot of that. Yeah, a whole lot of that.
I just really wanted to mention Sergei Bubka because A, he's the only pole vaulter I know by name, and B, that's the craziest sport I've ever seen.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good Friday morning, March 15th, the Ides of March. It is St. Patrick's Day weekend. St. Patrick's Day is not till Sunday. We're going to go ahead and say get yourself started today. Why not? Who is kidding who? Whom's kidding whom? Who's zooming who? Is there a whom? What am I trying to say? Who's zooming who? Yeah, okay. Fair enough. St. Patrick's Day. Let's get after it. But before we get after it, we got to give away some tickets. We've got tickets to 2 great events. First things first, the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival. That's next month, Saturday, April 13th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. You can practice for that all weekend long this weekend. The runner-up on this game today is going to go tickets to see Blackberry Smoke tonight at the Medina Entertainment Center. If you end up at that show, please come by and say, hey, I'll be wandering around, rocking out, having a good time with my very, very long-time friends, Blackberry Smoke from the good old ATL out at Medina. In order to win tickets to either of these events, however, the Tony Lee gauntlet of all gauntlets, the mother of all gauntlets, the biggest bitch in the house. Tony, lay it on us.
Oh, it's time.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon.
Toast. Toast. Toast.
I would like toast.
Toast.
Who wants toast? I love toast.
When this guy put some bread in a toaster, you wouldn't believe what happened next.
You've got bread and a toaster of some kind.
Can you make me a grilled cheese sandwich?
Your breakfast is ready.
I didn't hear a ding.
The KQ Morning Show presents...
All we need to do is beat the toaster.
Beat the toaster.
It's a game show.
Beat the toaster.
Breakfast is ready.
Don't do it. Don't fear the toaster. Embrace it.
We should do a Don't Fear the Toaster version of that song.
That's a brilliant idea.
I toasted a bagel yesterday and actually thought about this game show, which I didn't know it was coming up.
Too.
Right? It's warping my... I love my toaster, but now I'm not sure. Damn good bagel, though.
You know what? I can say that I've done the same thing, and I've toasted a bagel, but the problem was it took like 90 seconds, and for 90 seconds I was was going, okay, popping the knuckles, going to the dentist.
Vegetable cream cheese, raspberry cream cheese.
That's exactly it.
Just going through all the flavors of cream cheese.
Nice. I went through all the things that, kind of give me anxiety in the middle of the night when I wake up, so you had more fun than I did. All right, we've got a couple of people locked and loaded who want to try to beat this toaster. Let's get to it. Candace, who is toaster beater? No, I'm going to stop saying that. Candace, who's contestant number 1?
Haley from St. Louis Park.
Haley, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you a fan of craft beer by chance?
No, but my fiance is.
Whoa, well then, all right, you're still in the right place, Haley. Look at that, going up, taking a couple swings for the fiance. That's lovely.
I think if they win, they should get married at the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival. Just saying. I'm sure you have some plans, but throwing mine in there.
It's not fun to say. Fun to say fiance.
Fiance, my fiance. Haley, we are going to give you. We're going to give you all the time you need to mentally prepare yourself. That's not true. You better be ready right now. Tony, take it away.
Haley, here's what we do. We're going to pop a slice of bread into the toaster here in the studio. Then we give you a category. Then you name as many things that pop into your pretty little head as possible in 15 seconds before the toast pops. Beat the toaster, by God. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The first couple, we're going to take it a little easier on you, but let's stay with a St. Patty's Day theme. Why don't you tell me brands of beer? Go.
Ooh. Hamm's, Bud Light, Miller Lite. There are breweries, like Wild Mind. I don't know if that counts.
Mm-hmm.
Those Coronas. Or Dos Becky's. The one with the fish on it. I don't know.
The one with the what on it? All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I got 6, yeah.
We got 6.
Solid.
Haley, Haley proving she's not a beer drinker, for sure.
No.
But that said, hey, 6 is a strong start anytime for Beat the Toaster. So we're going to go back and forth, Haley. So sit tight. We're going to go to contestant number 2 for their round 1 toaster moment. Candace, who is contestant number 2?
Blondie from Stacy.
Blondie, good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening over there in Stacy?
Oh, not a whole lot.
No?
Nope.
Okay, you're just getting ready to beat the toaster, I guess.
Okay.
Have you had any toast today yet? Have you already had breakfast?
I have.
Was there toast involved?
There was.
Oh, you're well on your way, Blondie. I feel pretty good about this one. All right, best of luck.
Okay.
Monosyllabic. Blondie, my dear, we're going to stay with the St. Patty's Day theme. Tell me things that are green. Go.
Clover, spinach, grass, green eggs, crayons, markers.
That looks like 6, yeah?
Right.
Another
Crayons,
sixer.
Wow,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Crayons and markers. Pretty good.
What was that first one? Gophers, did she say?
Clover.
Clovers. Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I
Clovers.
turn up my headphones a little bit.
Green clovers.
I like it, Blondie. All right, you got 6. You're right neck and neck with Haley. Well done. All right, sit tight. We're going to go back for round 2. Back to Haley, who had 6 in the first round. That means she is now tied with Blondie. Round 2, Haley, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
All right, time to bring the heat. Name famous Pats, Patricks, or Patties. Go.
Patrick Swayze, Patrick Dempsey, St. Patrick, Patrick Stewart, Patrick Mahomes. Is that a person?
Mm-hmm.
Patty. That's all I got.
That's 5.
5.
And that's
good
strong.
ones.
I think you were looking for Pat McGroin, one of my great hotel names back in the day. All right, so that's 11 total, Haley, which is a strong effort. Congratulations on that one. I love Patrick Mahomes. Is that a person? Yes, it is.
Not really. He seems otherworldly.
He's a bit of a
Alien legs
cyborg.
almost.
Yeah, he's a football he's a football robot is what he is. But Haley, 11 is very strong. All right, let's see if Blondie can keep up with the frenetic pace. Round 2 for Blondie. Blondie, are you ready?
Who's that guy?
What are we doing?
We're gonna play round 2 of Beat the Toaster. Are you ready?
My name is Rondi, not Blondie.
Oh, Rondi. Well, that changes everything,
Well, help
Rondi.
me.
All right.
Are you blonde?
I'm gray.
That counts.
Blonde gray.
That counts. All right, Rondi. Good clarification. It's time for round 2 if you're ready.
Ready.
Do it.
All right, Rondi, besides a leprechaun, name some other mythical creatures or figures. Go.
Black cat. Oh, mythical. What is... I don't... Mythical.
Unicorn came to mind.
Santa, Tooth Fairy.
That. Shit.
Well,
that's not mythical.
These things happen.
Well,
that's as real as it gets, sister. Yeah. All right, Ronnie, that was a tough one. But that's the problem with Beat the Toaster, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it clicks and sometimes it doesn't. So you're ending up with a total of 7. That's good enough for a runner-up. You are not leaving empty-handed. In fact, you've got tickets to see Blackberry Smoke tonight at the Medina Entertainment Center. A great rock and roll band. Haley, you are the winner today. 2 tickets for you and your fiance to attend the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival Saturday, April 13th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Thank you both for playing. Congrats, Haley.
Thank you.
You got it.
April 13th. That's before the May 1st deadline. I'm on Minnesota Craft Beer Festival. Enjoy unlimited pours of some of the country's best beers. Over 100 breweries.
Oh, boy.
Pouring over 400 beers.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that'll work.
Beer talk this morning has me feeling the Roadhouse Blues, like a Jim Morrison kind of morning. Read a stat actually this morning. 13 million pints of Guinness will be consumed on Sunday. And that's just in St. Paul. Let's get into some common beer myths here at 7:20. Oh, and the Lucky. We're doing the Lucky thing, which I think some people on our KQ Facebook page are misconstruing for near-death experiences, which is a form of luck. But any old type of luck that you've had, doesn't have to be around St. Patrick's Day. When did something lucky happen to you? Let's talk about the luck of the Irish this morning. 651-989-ROCK. Talk and text line. I mentioned the KQ Facebook post and some common beer myths at 7:20. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning for Friday, March the 15th. Beware the Ides of March, especially when it's a Friday, because that means St. Patrick's Day is 3 days long.
Okay, I have to say something.
Candace has to say something. Candace has to say something. Go, Candace,
and
go.
It's, I am younger than you guys. I don't really get that. What is the Ides of March? Like, don't make fun of me, but I don't know what that means.
Okay,
you
the
keep
Ides.
saying it.
Okay, March 15th is the Ides is the middle day of the month. So the Ides of March. March 15th. That is from Julius Caesar, the Shakespeare play. Caesar was murdered. He was assassinated on March the 15th. And in the play, Julius Caesar, the soothsayer, the old fortune teller, says, "Caesar, beware the Ides of March." And then next thing you know, Caesar's getting stabbed up right there in the Senate floor.
A lot of stabs.
Oh, my gosh.
A whole lot of stabs. They did decide to let Mark Antony go, though. They were like, we don't have to kill him. And then he was able to give that beautiful eulogy.
Yeah, okay, I got you. You just kept saying it, and I was like, what? And you kept saying it in like a scary voice, and I didn't like it at all.
Okay, well, I totally get that, and I appreciate you asking, because we would not want you to, spend any more moments of the show in bewilderment. Are you familiar with the Mark Antony, the Friends, Romans, Countrymen, Lend Me Your Ears? You've heard that.
Something's in there from way back that I learned. Yes.
I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Don't get me started. So anyway, yeah, St. Patrick's weekend. It's you could say St. Patrick's Day's best on a Saturday, but honestly, Sunday seems right. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome.
I don't know, because they used to do the parade on Sundays. I thought, and that's my memory, is that it was on Sundays, but it's on Saturday this year, and maybe it's always been. I just have never noticed.
What's the plan? What's the St. Patrick's Day protocol for you?
Well, I'm gonna do some go to some Irish bars on Saturday.
Okay.
And then maybe like go to St. Paul for brunch and stuff on Sunday. But I'm not gonna stay out too late because I have to work on Monday. But tonight I'm really excited because one of my favorite actresses of all time, don't laugh, Lindsay Lohan has a new movie called The Luck of the Irish. That's on Netflix tonight.
She's a redhead with the freckles, right?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that movie. She hasn't had a cool movie in a while, so me and Gigi are going to snuggle up.
You're going to take your Friday night with your buddy Lindsay watching Netflix. That's wonderful.
It's going to be great.
God, sorry about that, Steve. I had shotgunned a beer after all that beer talk and went right through me. I was in the powdering my nose.
No, that's fine, man. Don't worry about it because drinking too much beer, Zep. I know this. It actually doesn't. Contrary to the popular myth, it doesn't actually add fat to the belly. The beer belly is not a thing.
No, are you sure?
True. Yeah,
because
the beer belly is the food you eat when you're drinking beer belly.
Oh, I see.
That's how that works.
Aha.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. A lot of things we think about beer aren't actually true. At least that's what they tell you. But common sense and experience would tell us that some of the beer myths actually make a whole lot of sense. For instance, bottled beer is always better than canned. No, au contraire. Cans have a much better airtight seal and keep the light out. That's why there's been such a... there was a while there where, canned beer seemed like it was on the way out. And not just because those Pop Tops kept killing people, but because, it was like cans. Oh, no, I need a glass bottle. Yeah. And then it was all the microbrews. It was the small batch beers, as I like to call them. Like, I remember, in the last 20 years, all of a sudden you started seeing all these new beers popping up in stores, and they were all canned. And I was like, yeah, man, they got it. They get the can, the power of the can. And I prefer, for one reason alone, do I prefer a can, and that's just putting that stuff in the fridge. It's just way easier to pack and stack and
spatial relationships.
Yeah, my life of viewing reality as a Tetris game, cans work way better for me.
I prefer it myself. When the old lady hits me in the head with an empty beer bottle, that hurts. A can, I can absorb that. No, but back in the day, you used to buy your case of long neck bottles, and you could take them back and get like $5 off your next case.
Sure.
But when they quit doing that, bring on the cans. But that was a thing. I remember that happening for a while, and we're like, no, get the bottles, man. The cans are bad. And someone would say, why are the cans bad? I don't know. It's skunky beer or something like that. But yeah, bunch of BS, you're saying.
It is a bunch of BS. The other thing I learned early on is that it's much healthier to drink light beer. People say that it's better for you, generally speaking. And I learned early on because a buddy of mine named Clay said, I drink Miller Lite. And I said, really, you like that? He goes, well, I should say, let me finish the sentence. I drink Miller Lite when I feel like I'm going to need 30. I was like, oh, yeah. Because because I was hesitant to get on the light beer train, and then one day I realized you can just drink all damn day. This is great, which so then equals the damage, but you feel healthier while doing it. So at least there's that, I suppose.
But remember when we made that transition then over to the craft beers, which had significantly higher alcohol content, and you were used to going out and drinking a dozen beers to get a good buzz on.
Sure.
And now you've had like 3 of those, and you can't get yourself to the bathroom. That happened to anyone else?
Oh, yeah. No, we've all...
Remember when that...
We've all been there.
I remember when I literally walked out of a bar, fell flat on my ass after 3 of those beers. I'm like, I'm plowed. But to be fair, it was... I said... At the time, I'm like, well, there's ice on the sidewalk. They're like, dude, it's August. I'm like, okay, get me home. Put me away.
I trained my bladder for situations like that in college when we played Edward 40 Hands, where we taped 40s to our hands, and then you have to try to... You guys never played that?
Educate.
When you train your bladder, do you use praise or punishment?
You start with praise and you end with...
I can't believe you've never heard of this. So you tape 40s.
Yes.
The big beers. Okay, so you tape them to each hand, and you have to finish them before you can go to the bathroom. And if you have to go to the bathroom really bad, like emergency, then you have to have someone in there trying to help you, and you can't take the 40s off.
That is honestly the greatest thing I've ever heard. Can we, for the final hour of this morning's show, can we all play Edward 40 Hands? Yes. Is it legal to do that on the air? Because I'd give it a go. I swear to God I would.
You guys can do it. I believe in you.
Man, what you're not in? It's your idea.
No, I'm gonna win. But
Here's a little tip before you put your headphones on first. Otherwise, they're just going to be hard to get on with 2 40s taped in each hand.
Me trying to run the board.
That's fantastic.
40s.
Man, one myth about beer, I refuse to believe this isn't true, is that Guinness is just, by God, it's just good for you. It's just packed with vitamins, nutrients, minerals.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Like the way I've said, like my mom figured Neosporin was the solution to most of life's pains. For me, that would be a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
The Guinness people say the perfect way to pour your pint, a true connoisseur will take exactly 119.5 seconds to pour at a 45-degree angle. Whatever it takes. Just, you know what I say? When I order that first one, as soon as you set it down, start pouring that second one because the first one goes quick. That's not a beer to sip. That's a gulper's beer from way back. That's just what that is.
I love to just look at it, a freshly poured Guinness. I love to
It's gorgeous.
Isn't it, though?
It
and then you
is.
to celebrate
stick your whole face in it. Get your nose in there. You snort it and drink it a little bit. Snort some froth. Now, Steve, you've traveled abroad. Guinness not served ice cold like it is often here in the States. It'll be served room temperature, maybe just a hair bit cooler than that.
Just a little cooler.
If you're out and about. And that's, boy, I remember the first time I tried that many, many years ago, and I thought, warm beer, man. But I was used to drinking skunk piss, Milwaukee's Best, that fire brewed Stroh's or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you don't want to drink that. You got to have that as cold as, in fact, a little ice in there makes it better. But a warm room temperature, cool Guinness, about the best damn thing on the planet.
First one I ever had in Dublin, I was taken aback by the temperature, but I would have never admitted it for a million years. The first thing I said was, this is the way it's supposed to be. And then I had to talk myself into it because, I was all excited to be in the land of my people, which turned out, thanks to 23andMe, to be not nearly as accurate as I had been led to believe. Damn it all. Well, I had one St. Patrick's Day in my life that stands out alone over all the others, and that's the one time I was in New York City and a day off on the road, 1995, and it started early and it went all over the city because, there's a couple, 3, maybe even 4 Irish bars in New York City, or maybe it's 9 million. Yeah. And my wife and my cousin and I spent the day trying to get to as many as we could, and we had such a great time that we were back at the hotel by like 7:30 p.m. I mean, seriously, we hit it early and we hit it hard, and then one day, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got a show tomorrow. I got to go to bed.
My God. The KQ Morning Show used to send me out over to St. Paul to a bar, and some of the bars would open just a little bit early. Of course, we didn't illegally pour any booze. But, yeah, I remember waking up at noon hungover before. But then that's early enough to get started again. And speaking of wild St. Patrick stories, I'm sure we must have a caller or two checking in with a wild. Yeah, do we?
Let's do it. Jim from Bloomington is dying to share his.
Jim, good morning.
Good morning.
Where do you get a good pint of Guinness in Bloomington, sir?
Hey, I don't drink, so I don't know.
Good answer. I appreciate the authenticity.
Well, this is a wild St. Patrick's story.
Is because going down to St. Paul back in my youth is the reason why I don't drink anymore.
Okay. All right. Lay it on us.
But we were down there one year, and trust me, I'm 65, and it's not like it was back in the 80s, late 70s and 80s. It was so much fun back there. But
we know.
We'd get down there at noon. We'd walk in the parade. We'd start drinking at about 10:30 at the bars down there all day long. Anyways, one year we're down there. We're leaving. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock. We're pouring ourselves into the car. And my buddy, his name is Brad, but we called him Tooley or Tool.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to go pee. So we're like, okay, and he walks around and he goes around the side of this building, and all of a sudden we hear this laughing and he's yelling, hey guys, come here, you got to see this. So we're like, okay, so we all walk around and he's peeing, and we're like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And he's pointing at the wall where he's peeing. And where he's peeing, where his stream is built as a Target in paint. Like the Target emblem for Target stores. It's just like that. And he's pointing at it, and we look above the Target, and it says, Tools Spot.
Oh, perfect.
and like, as if I, and the next morning I wake up and I'm like, was I just so drunk I imagined that crap?
That was my question for you.
Well, that was first of all, after it took me 2 hours to get out of my fog like it always did, but I was giving her a little bit of crap about having brunch. Who goes down to St. Paul?
Don't attack me, Jim. Okay, so I'm trying to be responsible and start early in the day and then get home.
It's St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You can't be responsible. Everybody's Irish. I mean, think about it.
Controversy.
Listen, y'all, have a safe St. Patty's Day.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it, brother.
The hell I will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stepping on. Jimmy stepping on Candace's misshapen toes right there.
Whoa.
Your words, not mine.
Well, I just want to do a light little brunch because I'm probably going to, tomorrow I'm going to go to St. Patrick's Day bingo. We're going to just bar hop a little bit. So that's going to be the celebration.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a brunch. I mean, get a big old meal in you, some corned beef, or wake up in the morning and just have a huge breakfast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, get it in there, right? And make the beer work for the buzz a little bit.
Just walk around with a turkey leg. Mine.
Yeah, you could also use it for self-defense. If the boys are getting a little fresh, if they're coming with that "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" line. Yeah.
Just remember, even on St. Patrick's Day, you do have to make your own luck. It's not a golden horseshoe isn't going to fall out of the ceiling and smack, unless, of course, that actually happens. But St. Patrick's Day, the luck of the Irish, all the shtick we hear about. Anything, I mean, anybody can and should look at their life and be aware of the times they've had good fortune shine upon them. But okay, right here, if I say, hey, what's the luckiest break you ever had? Does anything come to mind? Is there a thing like, I know none of us ever won the lottery or some crazy luck like that. I don't mean something maybe like that, but when you look back, you have to recognize, that was a pretty lucky break. That couldn't have possibly made that happen on my own.
Yeah.
I mean, either in personal relationships or work, usually it's career oriented, or you meet someone you didn't expect to, and it leads to this thing. I mean, I mentioned earlier in the show today, my band got a record deal. We played a gig, our first gig in New York City ever in 1988, and a dude from A&M Records came to see us. And it was a last minute thing for him. He happened to look in the Village Voice and he saw a listing, and he saw that there was a band from Austin, Texas called the Wild Seeds performing, and he was like, I should go see them. And then he noticed our band was the opening band, and the band was called Mr. Crow's Garden. And the only reason that jumped out to him, this is a guy who works at a record label. He's an A&R guy, so his job is to see new bands and look for new artists. But he remembered that the year prior, someone else at his record company had sent us into the studio for one demo and nothing ever came of it. And he just remembered the name. Like, he was like, oh, I've heard of that. I mean, that guy out in L.A. worked with them maybe. And like just totally last minute, like, oh, they start in 20 minutes. I can get over there. And we have no idea this is happening. And we walk off stage and he introduces himself. And as I said earlier, totally true story. He's like, yeah, your songs aren't very good. You guys you're not good at all, but that cover was cool. Or we actually played two covers. We played a song by the Stooges and we played a song by Aerosmith. And he was like, in 1988, he's like, the Stooges and Aerosmith, who the hell puts those two bands in the same sentence? He was just so, he thought it was just so weird that a band, of our age would play, of all the bands to put together those two bands. So anyway, but it was like, he's flipping through, getting ready to leave work for the day, and just sees a listing and happens to have a weird memory for the name. And then, and I can tell you right now, if that guy, George DeCoulius, doesn't get up from his desk and go to that club right then on a wild hair hunch, there was no reason to think we were ever going to get a record deal, because nobody else ever saw us and thought, I think there's something there. Everybody was like, those guys kind of suck.
It's all it takes, though.
It's all it takes. No, it is. Yeah. But I mean, what if his cab had, had a flat? Like, there's so many things. I look back, I think about that night, like the entire career. It's like, nothing happens if that one guy doesn't make that one decision and walk into a place where he doesn't know anybody. And we had, of course, like I said, no. And if we had known he was coming, we would have choked. We would have been like wound up about it. Yeah, I guarantee it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
That's cool.
just that one bit of luck changes the trajectory of your life. I mentioned to someone walking down a hall, got fired at a radio station here in Minneapolis in the 1990s. And as I'm leaving the GM's office, walking back to this little shared office space I had to grab my few belongings and walk out, I walked past someone that I didn't even really know in the hallway. And they're like, "Hey, Zepp, how's it going?" I go, "Well, I just got fired." Grabbed my box of stuff, walked out, got home. The phone rings, and it turns out that person that I mentioned it to happens to know another program director in town. And that program director called me. I got a job offer on the same day, and I'm still on that radio station, 92.5. Of course, they fired me, but then hired me back again. But, yeah, that's how I got my job at KQ. I got fired and hired all in the same day just because and if I wouldn't have said that to that person walking down the hallway, they might not have known it for it. It just may not have come to fruition. It's just a lucky move.
651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talk and text line. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know your good luck story, your tale. Similarly, same kind of thing happened, and it involved my band, but it involves my wife. I met her at a gig we played in 1988 where she worked the door, and she only went there, again, last-minute call. Hey, she had been on this concert committee. She graduated college. The school called her back and said, "We're shorthanded. Can you possibly work this gig? We need you there right now." And she had no interest and would have never been near it, but she had gotten the tip that her ex-boyfriend was planning to go to that show, and she went, "Well, if I work the door, I can deny him entry." That's why she was
that's
there.
Funny.
And then here comes
fury.
Steve. "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "Talk to the hand, dude. Get out of my face." But I mean, again, that never would have met her in a billion years living in a different city. These sort of things happen. Tony, you've got your arms folded. Your body language tells me. Your body language is like, "No, stop that nonsense."
No, it was just super comfy. Well, I think of, the cliche, lucky, healthy kids.
Sure.
I avoided a wreck in a New Year's Eve car full of my buddies one time. There was a car stalled in the middle of the highway. And I swerved, and there's no way the laws of physics supported what move I made. The car should have tipped over.
Really?
But that's more guardian angel, but I was lucky. But you want to know luck?
I want to know
Man,
luck,
this
baby.
is luck.
Give me some horseshoe.
I was at a movie promotional item. There was a contest. I won a promotional coffee mug for the movie Breakfast Club. It was under my seat.
Holy crap.
That's luck.
Yeah, baby.
And a brunch with Ali Sheedy. Amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe not. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talk and text line. Candace, who we got?
Rand from Mound.
Rand, good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
What have you got for us, brother?
Today?
We're great, man. What do you got?
All right, so back in 1978, I used to work for a company called Deltac who made food supplements. And I was on a 30-foot thing, that takes you up in the air. I can't remember what it was, but I had smoked a little in the morning, and I was moving the big barrel to dump it in, and I slipped off. It's a scaffold. So I slipped off the scaffold and fell 30 feet, and the only thing I broke was my finger.
Which finger?
To me, that was my lucky
30
break.
feet. Yeah, that's about 3 stories. That's off the roof of one of those tall, expensive houses. That's a broken finger. That's pretty good.
Was the water you landed in cold?
No, it wasn't water. I landed on concrete.
Wow.
I know. What was damn lucky, but not really. I'm thinking about there was a construction worker once that fell 5 stories, but he landed in a bunch of bubble wrap that somebody had discarded into a dumpster. Yeah, I think we did the story.
That's awesome.
That's lucky. Well, that's lucky, man.
Yeah, Rand, short for granite, apparently. Thanks for the call, brother. We appreciate it.
Hey, have a great day, people.
Yeah, you got it, man. Jeez.
Smoked a little before he went 30 feet up in the air.
A little bit.
I guess that's the secret. That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
man,
you got to do what you got to do.
I tell you what, falling 30 feet onto concrete, that's the fastest and longest fall of your life. That's enough time to have that whole life flashing before your eyes, and yes, this is going to hurt. All that, plenty of time for all that stuff, man. That is brutal. Hey, you know what? One thing else that we're doing this weekend is that Friday, today at 5 p.m., KQRS is kicking off St. Petty's Day weekend. 92 KQRS will kick off every single hour with a Tom Petty song. Plus, if you listen for double shots and bonus tracks all weekend, that's going to make it that much cooler. Sponsored by YourBoatClub.com. Tom Petty for St. Petty's Day weekend all weekend long.
Boy, that name, instantly recognizable. Tom Petty. Everybody knows it. Yep. David Morse, the actor. I heard we were going to have him on today. I thought, David Morse, who's that? Yeah, punched it in the old computer and went, oh, yeah, David Morse. That David Morse. And all of those movies. Fantastic actor and a very much talked about movie right now. Cabrini, Mike Evans, gave 4 out of 5 stars this morning. We're going to interview David Morse. He'll join us here shortly. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning for Friday, March the 15th. AC/DC Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Inspiration for that song, an Australian Saturday morning cartoon. The cartoon was called Beanie and Cecil, and there was a character named Dishonest John. He was the main villain, and he had a business card that said, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Holidays, Sundays, and Special Rates. Or I guess it said, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, mate, Holidays, Sundays, Panadol, Australian for headache relief, or whatever it said. I love the idea that they were writing songs inspired by Saturday morning cartoons. I could do a whole album's worth on Johnny Quest. I can promise you that now.
Yes.
What, are you kidding?
The best.
Bandit, that little dog, yapping around. The episode with the California Condors alone was just enough. Although I believe they were in South America. I believe it was the Andes Mountain Condors. But I was obsessed with condors for a long time because of Johnny Quest. Like, wow, there's a bird that's that big. No way.
How about that ship that was, you remember that ship that was like a giant eye?
Yeah.
Just a one big single eye.
Yeah,
walked like a spider.
Yeah. Oh, come on. That's good stuff right there.
Hadi, a streetwise Hindu boy.
Streetwise Hindu boy. The other thing about Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap I always loved, there's a couple from Libertyville, Illinois. Their names were Norman and Marilyn White. And they filed a lawsuit for invasion of privacy because their phone number in Australia, like in the lyrics of the song, Bon Scott sings, just ring 362-436. This couple had that number in their phone. Because there's a hey in there and people thought it was 8. Their number was 362-4368. They lived in Illinois. And when the song hit American airwaves, they were getting phone calls left, right, and center. And they said, hey, man, some of these are lewd, suggestive, and threatening. And they asked for $250,000 in damages and demanded the band re-record the song. But a judge ruled against them. I guess they had to try anyway. Yeah. All right, hey, joining us right now on the KQ Morning Show, David Morse, a great actor. I've been a fan for many years. He is one of the stars of the new film Cabrini, which we're hearing wonderful things about. Mike Evans is raving about it. So let's get on the horn. David, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning to you. Nice to be with you.
I've been waiting to say this for 44 years, my man. I moved to a small town in Kentucky. We had cable TV for the first time, and HBO had about 6 movies they would play, and one of them was Inside Moves, over and over and over.
Wow.
And I'm one of 6. I have 5 brothers. We all played basketball, and that's one of my family movies. We watched it a million times, and man, am I happy to talk to you. Jerry himself, Golden State Warrior legend, right here on the phone with us.
Really? That's a little intimidating. Golden State legend, crying out loud.
I'm just saying, we were big Jerry Maxwell fans in the Gorman house. That's all. Was that your first film?
Yes, right there.
Was that your first film?
That was the very first. Yeah, it was. I've never done any television. I've never done a movie in my life. I've done 9 years of theater, but when I walked onto that set, I'd never been in front of a camera, and it was really an experience. And I kind of fibbed a little bit about whether I could play basketball or not when they cast me in that. So I had a month to go to train to be a Golden State Warrior. That was
you
nightmares about it ever since.
I bet, man. Well, it was a month well spent. It worked for us.
Yeah.
What a just hilarious and warm and heartwarming script. I mean, it's just one of those. It still holds up. A bunch of great characters in that one. That's I mean, looking back over everything you've done since, I would imagine that's a pretty great place to have started.
It was an amazing place to start, and to this day, it's hard for me to believe that I was cast in that. I was up against every major movie star who wanted to do that role. Someone like John Travolta, and that they cast me in that along with John Savage. It's really, truly hard for me to believe to this day that I got to do that.
Richard Donner directed, and I think Barry Levinson wrote it, and Travolta had no inside game, so that was never gonna work. So it all makes sense now. So now the new movie Cabrini, we've been, as I mentioned, we've been hearing great things. We have a guest on the show every day with a Hollywood Report, and he just raving about this one. What's your association with this film? Was the script sent to you? Did your agent say, here's something for you? I mean, was there any backstory to how this fell into your lap?
Well, the director, Alejandro, he had actually offered me a couple of other movies before that. One of them was the Sound of Freedom that obviously had so much success. And I couldn't do the Sound of Freedom. I was doing a series at the time, and they overlapped. It just wasn't going to work out. So when I got sent this one, I paid attention. And it was a beautiful, beautiful story, beautifully written. And I thought, I'm going to go for it. It's an independent movie. It has probably the biggest budget for any independent movie I've ever been a part of. And when you watch this movie, you'll see it. It's spectacular to look at. The world that they created, it's great, old-fashioned movie making on a grand scale. And it's just spectacular. Spectacular performances and a beautiful story.
Cabrini's it's a true story of an immigrant woman, comes to New York in the late 1800s, overcomes all sorts of odds to build what they're describing a worldwide empire of hope. And so this kind of film, like you mentioned, you had a month to prepare for Inside Moves, your first movie. A movie like this, when you get a script and you commit to a project, what are the weeks like leading up to shooting? Are you just cramming lines? You have a prep and I guess a protocol, a set of habits at this point. But is there still kind of a stressful thing? Like you're not sure, every set's different, every director's different. Is it still kind of daunting before you get into the flow of things?
Yeah, I don't know. Daunting, it depends on the project, daunting. Some more so than others. There definitely is sort of a pattern, routine. Research, whatever you can do to research. I played a real Archbishop of New York in this movie, so anything I could find about him, I read about him. And, the work, once you when you get on the set, there's a lot that happens before you get there, just trying to, the lines, you brought up the lines. Obviously, when you get there, you want to know them as much as you can. But you want to get a feeling for the character as much as possible. And you really never even know who the character is until you get there on that first day and open your mouth. Mm-hmm. And that's when you start really discovering who the character is.
David Morse is with us on the KQ Morning Show. So many great moments in both TV and film, and you were doing that at a time when most actors were in one lane and not the other. You went from St. Elsewhere onto movie sets, back to other shows. Was that by design? Did you always want to have your foot in both, or was that just the way the offers came?
Well, you brought up Inside Moves. When I did that, I thought I couldn't stand television at the time. The world of television, I thought it was the enemy of our society, and I swore I would never do it. And I did Inside Moves, and then I couldn't get a break in another movie, and I did nothing but television for the next 10 years. TV movies, miniseries, St. Elsewhere, and it was now people can go back and forth. At that time, it was very hard to go from television into movies. And I was very fortunate. I did a couple of Sean Penn movies that he wrote, directed, and I'm very grateful to him. And I made my way back into movies. Now I'm not so snooty anymore. There's great work being done in television and in film and theater, and I try to do it all.
But you know what? The Indian Runner, man, that's great. I totally spaced on that one too. You just mentioned Sean Penn. That one. I was big fan of that film. That's not really a laugh riot by any stretch, but man, that's pretty fantastic. I love being reminded of that one too. We said before before you came on, if the name isn't familiar, your face certainly is. Anybody that's listening to the show has seen you in several things after all these many years. What is your? You said you did theater, I believe, for 9 or 10 years before Inside Moves. Yeah. Would you have been? So I guess theater was the prize. That was the original goal.
What I always thought I'd be. I was part of a repertory theater in Boston. Mm-hmm. I went right from high school at 17 years old into repertory theater, and I did nothing but plays, 3 different plays a week in repertory, and I did that for years. So I always thought I'd be like the English actors. Mm-hmm. They were my heroes on stage. But obviously things changed along the way, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it seems that way. David Morse is with us. I just read that you've lived in Philly now for, I guess, going on 30 years. Is that at all a detriment? I mean, you seem like you've got a pretty good perspective on life, much less your career. But moving to Philadelphia, was that just, I got to get away from L.A., it's too crazy out here? What led to that? Not too many people with your kind of career, I think, live in Philadelphia.
No, that's right. And there was the earthquake in 1994, and we lost our house in the earthquake. We were all in it with small children. We had no place to live, and my wife had grown up in Philadelphia, and I actually was starting. We shot one day on the movie The Crossing Guard that Sean directed, and once we started filming again, we had to get our family somewhere safe. So Susan had friends here, but let's just move Susan and the kids here while we try to figure out our lives. And it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened to us. It's been a great city and a great life here.
Oh, that's fantastic. I enjoyed that Northridge earthquake myself. Scariest moment of my life. I was at a hotel in West Hollywood thinking the world was coming to an end. I remember it very, very clearly.
And West Hollywood, believe it or not, was one of the safest places in the city. Mm-hmm. I wound up, when they left, I lived in a hotel in West Hollywood. I was over in Sherman Oaks, and there was more damage there than anywhere else.
Oh,
it was terrifying.
Yeah, no, I know. I moved to Sherman Oaks a few years after that, and the house we moved into, we found out had been completely wrecked and then rebuilt too. So, Sherman Oaks got smacked. It was terrifying. I can only imagine how bad it was for you with those kids. So now, with this movie Cabrini, you said it's an independent film, but it's getting a lot. It's going to be released pretty much everywhere if it hasn't already, I imagine. And on the heels of Sound of Freedom, there's got to be an expectation that this thing's going to find a large audience.
Well, that's what we're hoping. I think it's well over 2,000 theaters around the country, which is fantastic. It's going to really depend on people getting out to see it and talking about it. It's going to be, it's guaranteed for the next few weeks in movie theaters. So we're hoping that it'll give the audience that Sound of Freedom, but beyond that, it's really a movie that's going to appeal to a lot of people's hearts. And we're hoping it'll find those hearts.
David Morse, if you and I walk into a gym right now in street clothes, how many free throws are you hitting? No warm-up. I'm going to give you 10 free throws.
Let's see if I can hit one.
Okay.
I'll be grateful if I can do that. How about you?
I like this. I like the honesty with that. I'm convinced on my worst day I'm always hitting at least half of them. I was a good free throw shooter. So, and it's just a family thing. I have brothers who'd kick my ass if I shot under 50% from the line. So, but if we ever get the opportunity, trust me, it will be my pleasure. Thanks for calling in, and all the best with Cabrini. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, happy to talk to you. Thanks for doing this.
See ya. See ya. Again, I mean, so Cabrini, Mike Evans has been raving about it, as have just about everything else I've seen about this film. And as you just heard, it's in 2,000 screens, so it's everywhere. And it seems like a pretty fascinating story. But I just got to go back to Inside Moves because, like I say, when you have, there's family movies like The In-Laws with Peter Falk and Alan Arkin.
Yes.
My siblings, my parents, we would just watch that movie over and over. The only good thing about HBO in the early days was that they had like 9 movies and they just showed them over and over and over.
True.
And every one of them was, every other one was good. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, oh, this again. But then In-Laws was a staple, but Inside Moves, early 80s. We watched that thing relentlessly and just so many funny lines and such a heartwarming story. And, Barry Levinson, he wrote it, and Richard Donner directed it. Those guys made great movies and still continue to. Yeah. So it was just, wow, it's just one of the great unsung sports movies because it's a really kind of it's a bunch of guys in Oakland hanging out at a bar. He's a bartender with a leg injury, and then, but he's got a great game, and then he gets the money to pay for the surgery, and then he makes the team. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm getting excited thinking about it.
Sure. I remember the movie, and I remember the early days of HBO. We didn't quite have it yet. We were out there in the country, but I could go and stay at my Uncle Frank's place, who was in Huron there, and they had cable, and they had HBO. And I remember that movie and watching a lot with another one of those actors that you can't immediately name, but he was in a bazillion movies. But this guy has been in so many when I start thinking about all the movies. Oh, yeah. And every time he appears in a movie, he's 6'4". I looked it up. He's 6'4", so I mean he has a presence in a movie, and he plays the super nice guy, the super creepy guy, but he's been in World War Z. I loved him in John Adams, the miniseries, The Hurt Locker,
The Green Mile.
It just goes on and on.
Green Mile,
the Green Mile,
right.
yes, right, yes. The guy.
Well, and 6'4" in reality is 6'8" in a movie because most actors are tiny. I mean, he looks huge because he's usually standing next to someone who's 5'7". It's you know who else is in Inside Moves is Diana Scarwood, who was the daughter in Mommy Dearest, the blonde. Not the tiny one, but the teenage version.
Oh, okay,
the older.
All right.
And she had a really nice career for a few years. Diana Scarwood, that name. If you saw her face, you totally know her. But she is memorable to me because that is the first internet search I ever did was to find that actress's name. We had just gotten online, like dial-up AOL connection on a laptop in this must have been, and it was later than most people, so it's probably 99. Me and Rosemary and a friend was at the house, and we were watching a movie. And the whole conversation was, who's that actress? And I said, she was in Mommy Dearest. And Rosemary's like, no, that's not the same woman. I go, yeah, it absolutely is. I don't even remember what movie we were watching at the time, but I was like, her name is Diana something. She was in Mommy Dearest. She was in Inside Moves. I know that's who it was. And because it was...
Computer brain of yours.
But we were just going back and forth. And then at some point, and our friend, a guy whose name is Groovy, and he's a groovy cat, Groovy literally goes, well, dude, you got the internet? I was like, yeah. He goes, go to Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves.
Oh, and I was like, wait, we can find out? I remember he goes, yeah. And we go plug in the modem and do the connection. Yeah. And he shows me what Ask Jeeves is. And I put in who is the, and then he's just like, what's her name? I'm like, Diana, Mommy Dearest. And then it popped up, and then a photo slowly appeared, getting closer and clearer and clearer. Boom! I was like, "That's her." And Rosemary's like, "Damn it, I can't believe it." And I was like, "This internet thing might be okay."
Yeah, right.
I was 1 for 1 on my internet searches.
I'm thinking of the anticipation. I forgot the anticipation that used to come with the internet, the waiting, and then it would hook up. And you talked about the image coming into focus. First thing I ever did on the internet, of course, I'm sure this is going to shock everyone, is I downloaded Farrah Fawcett's iconic poster in the red swimsuit sitting right there, one of the most sold posters of all time.
How long did that take?
And that was available. It took long enough that I kept walking back into the living room to watch whatever I was watching on on television, and then I would walk back and go, "Oh, it's down to her collarbone. Oh my God, I can see her top half. She's nipping. Whatever, yeah." So that was, but all that I remember Ask Jeeves, and yeah, it was the greatest thing. We would just sit there all night, drinking beers. Another question, what's the meaning of life? Sure. And of course, it was a bit limited back then. You could stump Ask Jeeves. The website's not still out there, is it? It would be obsolete by now.
Can't possibly still exist.
Man. All right, we've been talking a lot about beer this morning. Of course, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Getting lucky, the luck of the Irish. If you want to jump on the KQ Facebook page, or hell, give us a call. Be sociable. It's a free-for-all Friday, 651-989-ROCK. That's the talk and text line. And don't be this dumbass criminal this weekend, drunk driver. Failed a breathalyzer miserably, and I'm not even talking about the number he blew. We'll tell you exactly how he failed this breathalyzer before they even handed it to him. Here in about 10 minutes. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, March the 15th. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend, everybody. You consider yourself lucky if you're surrounded by good people. If you got the right people in your life, there's no better luck you could possibly have. Check out an interview John Bon Jovi gave recently, talking about a guy in his life. This is a kind of a crazy story. John Bon Jovi, he's from a band called, hang on, it's in my notes, Bon Jovi. He underwent surgery in 2022, vocal cord medialization, a surgical procedure to help his voice regain proper function. And he gave an interview recently, and he said that he spent a lot of time in his recovery with Bruce Springsteen. He said, Bruce came over to pick me up every couple of weeks. We would take these 100-mile drives after surgery. I could barely speak, and it was just a way of him saying, I'm here for you, man. We'll get through this. It meant the world to me. And he said the long car rides, they weren't at all serious. They were just two dudes driving around the state of New Jersey, spending a few hours together every couple of weeks. So he goes on and says, well, you got John Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen driving around New Jersey. You kind of want the state cops to pull you over, like laughing about it. And he goes, one day we were at a stoplight and some VFW haul was collecting with a bucket of, nickels and dimes. I rolled down the window. I had some money in my pocket, and I put it out. The guy saw me, and he's like, hey. And then he bends down, looks in the window, and sees Bruce, and he's freaking out. And then all the guys from the VFW came over. I'm like, yeah, I imagine so. I mean, if Bon Jovi and Bruce are driving around Minneapolis, everybody's going to go, holy crap, look at them. If they're driving around Chaska, everyone's going to go, holy crap, look at them. If they're in Brainerd, everyone's going to go, holy crap, look at them. But in New Jersey, it's the Pope and the Pope.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Pope and the Little Pope. Let's just call it what it is. That's just got to be hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine I would hate to be the car behind them at that light.
Yeah, right.
I'm saying you're sitting there for a while. Or at that point, you just put it in park and join the crowd. Might as well get a selfie. I was parked right behind these guys. Interesting interview. I saw that myself. John Bon Jovi, the voice problems that he had, and actually I had a little bit of audio of not of the Bruce Springsteen stuff, however, which would have been nice right now, but of his wife finally confronting him when he came off stage one day. Wife, that's the truth, right? When you get it from her, she didn't sugarcoat it for him.
I tried everything to be me on that stage. And I came off on that night in Nashville, and it was the last of the 15 shows. I was like, that was all right. That was pretty good. It was good. Audience is going crazy. It's good. And the greatest truth teller of them all said, it wasn't good. And my voice was broken.
Yeah. Oof. The broken voice. Yeah, I thought the crowd was actually reacting to how poorly his voice had sounded at that time. Oh, yeah. That's it. That's your instrument, That's your livelihood.
JBJ's got a new album coming out soon. He's got a new single, Legendary, that was released yesterday with a video. And on my syndicated show, Steve Gorman Rocks, I spoke to the man this week. We had a little interview.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, man, we got to get him on. And they were like, nah, he doesn't do mornings. That ain't happening. But he was in great spirits. He was really excited about it. I was going to talk with him. I was like, it's John Bon Jovi. Check him out. All right.
What about Richie? Did he say anything about Richie?
We didn't talk about Itchy. We did not. But he's also got a 4-part Hulu documentary coming out soon. The whole story, and Itchy's in that one, and he said no holds barred. Everybody tells their version of their story. He said he goes, oh, I get bloodied. They take some shots at me, so we'll see what happens.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's always good. It's always good to have a new rock doc to get around and watch. St. Patrick's Day weekend is upon us. There are 10 cities in the United States called Dublin. 10. Most of them are in the eastern part of the country, but there is a Dublin, California, and a Dublin, Texas. Dublin, California has over 70,000 people. It's in the Bay Area between Oakland and San Jose. I had no idea it was that big. I've heard of it. I had no idea where it was or that it was big. Among the larger cities, Boston has the highest percentage of people with Irish ancestry at 23%. That completely checks out. And then Pittsburgh, Zepp, is second, followed by Philadelphia. But a lot of Irish over there in the eastern parts, huh?
Oh, yeah. They came over in droves and made something of it. You know, there was a lot of... they weren't super welcome when they first started arriving here in the late 19th century.
No, they were not.
Not super welcome. No. In fact, probably not welcome at all. But, they've certainly there are more people of Irish descent in America than there are citizens in Ireland.
Without question.
And they love America. You ever want to take a trip somewhere, and maybe you go to Paris and you get a little attitude. Some places around the world, I found most places to be pretty accommodating, especially when you bring money with you. However, Ireland, you don't even have to have money. They'll take care of you. Those people absolutely love Americans. I mean,
absolutely.
You're just a brother from across the pond or a sister when you go to Ireland. You're going to have a lot of fun vacationing in Ireland.
It's fantastic. On my dad's side, both his grandparents, his sets of grandparents, both the Gormans and the Scotts, they all came from Ireland to Canada first. They went through. They did not do Ellis Island. They ended up in London, Ontario.
Okay.
And my dad would have been born there. He was right shortly before he was born. They made the jump. They crossed the river into Detroit, Michigan. They drove down to Windsor, across the bridge. His dad got a job, so that's when they came to America. But like his older sister was born in. She's Canadian, Irish Canadian. Yeah. So there was almost that. And I've always thought it's a pretty funny mix. The genteelest, happiest, sweetest people on earth, the Canadians, and then just some rowdy, brawling Irishmen. That mix. It's a heady mix. It's a roller coaster every day. It certainly makes a lot. It kind of checks out the more I learn about. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it felt like that when I'd be in Detroit with the family.
I mean, they were a big part of the westward expansion. Of course, the Civil War. There's that famous story in the Book of Gettysburg. I don't know if they included it in the movie or not. I don't know if I ever watched the movie, but in the book where they talk about one of the captains coming up to a defeated Confederate soldier right there, and the Confederate soldier saying, "The only reason you won is because you have more Irish." And the big part of thanks. I appreciate that.
But he wasn't referring.
I'll probably go with an Irish song, but I don't want to be picky.
He wasn't saying they won because the Irish soldiers are tougher. He's saying they won because they're used to not eating for months on end and they could handle it. It wasn't like all that great in Ireland in the 1850s when they started loading up those boats. It was like
that's why they loaded them up.
I haven't had a meal in 6 months. Maybe I'll try New York. Okay, so a couple of things here. Let's just get right to it. How about some St. Patrick's Day? How about some trivia? I'm going to quiz you guys. We didn't discuss this. It's not prepared.
Yikes.
I'm just going to throw it. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. Anybody knows the answer, feel free to chime in right here. What's the tagline for Lucky Charms?
Always after me, Lucky Charms.
No?
They're magically delicious.
There you go.
They're magically delicious.
But oh, my God. I will listen to Tony's Irish brogue all day.
Oh, so authentic.
What in Irish means Ireland forever? What's the phrase in Irish?
Sláinte? I don't know.
That's cheers.
Erin Gobrach. Yeah. Let's see. What animal did St. Patrick drive out of Ireland?
Hippo.
Your favorite animal.
That's right. He got rid of all the snakes, baby. That's why I'd raise a Guinness to his memory anytime anyone offers me one.
Right. I think it was just the pagans, but close enough.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, how about this? Some of these, there's no possible way anybody could know. According to folklore, a leprechaun's occupation is what? What do leprechauns do to earn their little gold coins?
Morning radio?
No.
Mattress giant?
Jokes. No. They're jokester. They're comedians.
They're shoemakers.
What?
Cobblers.
Yeah, little cobblers. Oh, green hearts, yellow moons, and little cute cobblers. Why don't Lucky Charms have a cobbler-shaped marshmallow candy?
Yeah.
Shoe.
Wow. Yeah, there's all these other questions, but it's like, you'd literally have to be Irish. Yeah, forget that. There is one last one. Candace should know this. What ancient Celtic festival is thought to be the origin of Halloween?
Oh,
it was the name of a band Glenn Danzig was in back in the 80s. And it's not the Misfits.
Danzig.
What band was Danzig in after the Misfits?
Danzig.
Sam Hain.
Oh, I would not know that.
Sam Hain.
That's it.
Sam Hain.
There you go. Fair enough.
I was going to say the Misfits too. I never even heard of Sam Hain.
Yeah, it was just
the Misfits. Yeah,
it was a hot minute. A hot minute. My greatest moment in Ireland did not come when I was pounding Guinness at a bar. It didn't come when I was on stage rocking the Irish, my brothers and sisters. It came after a week-long bout of food poisoning that started in Portugal, ran itself into the Netherlands, over to England, and finally in Dublin when I finally got to a doctor. And she said, "What's been going on?" And I was like, I ate something in Portugal. I am 7 days into this. I lost like 30 pounds. I mean, it was crazy. And she looked at me and she's like, "Well, you just have to let it go through you." I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not going through me. It's still here. Is there something you can just give me? Is there a pill? Is there an antibiotic? She's like, "No, it's best just to let these things just take their course." And I'm like, "You don't understand. I feel like I have razor blades in my stomach all day, every day." And she's like, "Yeah, sorry." And I'm like, boy, Irish medicine, just okay, glad. Suddenly I'm like, man, I'm really glad we left this place 190 years ago. Where it was. And then we play Dublin, and I can barely play. I mean, I'm just sick as a dog. Next day, go to England. I'm in Manchester, and I go across the street from the hotel, and there's like a vitamin shop, and I'm like, I gotta just do something. And I walk in, and I told the guy, I said, "I got food poisoning like a week ago." And he goes, "Oh, acidophilus." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Here." Hands me a thing of acidophilus. I take 2, and an hour later, I'm fine. After a solid week. And I was like, that's all it took? Some probiotics for the stomach? Just some bacteria, and took care of that bug? And I'm like, the Irish didn't come through for me.
How long do you think it would have taken if you just let it pass?
I would still be somewhere in Europe right now, just on the side of the road crying. I'm telling you, man.
Making a mess.
Absolutely
on the
terrible.
countryside.
Absolutely terrible. Hey, check this out. Okay, completely switching gears, but this is wild to me. Frontier Airlines has a new seating option they've introduced. It's called Upfront Plus. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean if you sit towards the front of the plane, you have more leg room. It means you got more spread the leg room. They're going to let you pay extra to make sure no one sits next to you, but it's not the full cost of the seat next to you. So they have 3 seats. You can pay extra, and there'll be no one in your middle seat. It guarantees an open middle seat. So if you're booking a flight with someone, there's 2 of you, you can secure all 3 seats for less than the cost of 3 full tickets.
That's cool.
Kind of cool. Kind of, but I don't know. I can't imagine. But it's only for the first couple of rows. It's only on the first 2 or 3 rows of each plane.
Yeah. I mean, I remembering my first Frontier when they first came to Minneapolis, super cheap, and no one was using them, and they flew out west. And when I was ski bumming, I would take my ski vacations, didn't have a pot to piss in, I would take the Frontier Airlines, and it was empty. I remember just putting up the armrest, and I'd have all 3 seats to myself and just stretch out and lay down and get a good nap. Those days, of course, are long gone. But, yeah, I mean, I guess it would depend on how much of a price discount that is because, those discount airlines, they kind of get you. You think, look how cheap that is.
I see what they're trying to do there.
Yeah, you see what they're trying to do, Candace. But
I don't
it would
do
be
any
nice.
of that stuff. I'm cheap when it comes to flying. I don't get any insurance. I don't get any carry-on. I don't get any... Nothing. But I'm excited.
You
I'm
don't
going to
get
fly.
a carry-on bag, or
well,
you check
not
your
this
bag?
year. So this year I am flying Frontier when we have our vacation, and I got this bag on Amazon that's supposed to fit all this crazy stuff, and it's considered your personal item.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. But there's a video of her
just like a
stuffing
big
all sorts
purse.
of stuff.
Does it have like a quantum reducer in it?
Yeah.
Any chance we can get you to live stream the whole experience?
Yeah. You're at that age, though, when you take a vacation, you can take just a change of clothes, probably, right?
No way.
A couple of pair of underwear.
I got shoe issues, stuff like that. But it'll be fine. I'm going to give it a shot. This bag is promising, so we'll see.
Man,
what could possibly go wrong?
Sneak Gigi in there with some snacks.
No, I have to bring options for clothes, but I'm going to try to plan it out better. I just did not want to spend $50 each way for a carry-on this time around. I just really didn't want to.
Okay, sorry for my ignorance. $50. You're buying a ticket that's so cheap they're charging $50 for
that's
a
pretty
carry-on.
Typical, yeah. Some all the airlines do that, except Delta.
No, Southwest doesn't do that.
Well, their tickets are probably more expensive.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Yeah, my experience in the last 15 months, it's just exclusively Southwest or Delta. I don't think I've been on out of or into Minneapolis. That is.
Well, I want to take some of the cheaper flights. I like to shop around on some of the budget airlines, but like you said, carry-on. I don't have one of her quantum physics bags, I actually have a carry-on that I'm going to take with me, so then there's $50 for that. Oh, you've got to pay for your seat. You've just paid to get on the flight, but if you want to sit down, and by the way, you have to sit down, now you have to buy the seat. And by the time I add it all up, I'm right about there. Plus, then there's a layover. There's always one stop. I don't like to stop. That's just one more airport bar. There's another $100 in booze, probably. So I'm just saying it adds up, So yeah, but I don't think I'd be buying the extra seats.
Oh, yeah, I never do that because I like the thrill as well. Because sometimes I've gotten lucky, not taking.
Are you traveling alone? Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of times when you're traveling alone like that, they'll give you the upgrade. Yeah. So solo traveler, all right, I feel it.
I flew JetBlue a couple times years ago when the airline first started, and they had that was the first time I got on a plane that had live TV.
Oh,
and I
right,
was
yeah.
They were the first guys that I was aware of, and that was pretty cool. But the first time I flew JetBlue, long story short, a flight got canceled and we had to scramble, and I had to get from New York to Denver. We were on tour as a band, and there was it's a whole bunch of weird things. It ended up so we're scattered on a bunch of different flights. Me and one of the guys in the crew, our assistant tour manager, we ended up on this JetBlue flight together from New York to Denver. We get to the airport, we get to JFK in New York, and we get there, and we have the last 2 tickets on the plane. And he said, we got row 1 and row 14. And he looked at me and goes, the farther back you go, there's more leg room. And I was like, which is true? I go, oh, there is? He goes, yeah, they actually have a little bit more leg room. I said, well, then let me go farther back. He goes, yeah, sure, take it. And it was 14 ABCD. I was in 14E. So middle seat, aisle 14, never forget it. And I'm like the last guy walking on this plane. It's packed. Oh. And I'm walking down, and I'm like, oh, man. And the first thing I actually noticed was who was on the window of my aisle, and it was a young woman. And I could tell just right away, she's really a small person, 5 feet, maybe 5'1". So that's always great. I always want someone, But and it's funny that I noticed her first, because the guy in the aisle is, to this day, without any question, the largest human I've ever seen on an airplane.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, when
plane kind of tipped to his side.
I walk down the aisle, and as I am approaching, I'm looking at him, and he looks up, and I point to the seat next to him.
Yep.
And he's like, "Okay," and he has to get up and get out of the way. Oh. He's taller than me, and I kid you not, twice as wide. He was the largest person I've ever seen on a flight. And I sit down in my middle seat, and then I realize the woman on the window is like, she's curled up in a ball, like taking up the smallest amount of space possible. The guy sits down next to me, and I mean, look, he's got issues. I'm not here to bag on him. It's just a reality. When he sat down, his leg pressed mine all the way. He forced me to turn towards the window away from it. I was sitting at like a 45-degree angle. That's the only way to make it fit. And I'm leaning all the way over. I'm like in the woman next to me's space.
Yeah. Hello.
She's hugging the wall. I'm hugging her essentially. And then there's this guy. And I just, and it was a flight to Denver. That's not a short flight from New York. And I've just never seen anything like it. And I was like, and I've had people say ever since, like, man, JetBlue's great. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't go back.
Yeah, out there somewhere is a petite woman talking about the two largest men she's ever seen get on a plane.
We actually, it was one of the few flights I've ever had where I spoke to the person I was sitting with. And we had a great conversation. We ended up, it was fine because it was so absurd. We had no chance but to like make the most of it. But it was just, oh man, my back was messed up for like a week, and I was like,
do you ever pay extra for the, what is it called, the exit row or the seat where you have to save the plane?
Well, see, I get exit row. Delta or Southwest, you don't pay for your seat. Yeah,
I do exit row anytime I can. Yes, I want that leg room.
Oh my God! So you could say I got lucky by not buying a seat and getting the exit row, but it wasn't a particularly nice flight home for me. I was really emotional about some things, and I was in the process of getting COVID. So I was just all messed up in the head, and I was like, I can't do this. I cannot save this plane. I freaked out, and I had to move. I was like, I cannot. Like, if we crash, like, I'm not saving this plane. Because she was explaining it, you know, like,
if we crash, I'm not safe. What are you, a superhero? I am not going to fly outside of this plane. And
if you sit there, there's responsibilities that you have to do.
That's right. You've got to be able to open the door. Candace is having a bad week. We're all going down in flames.
What a spectacularly responsible little traveler you are.
I was not. I was like, I gotta move.
I have been in various states of deep intoxication and looked up and gone, yes. When they say, are you prepared to help? Yes.
Yeah.
And then before one more word's out of that woman's mouth, I'm back asleep with my mouth wide open.
I'm on a flight to Atlanta to head on down to the Caribbean. What more exciting? Not coming back hung as hell, but heading there, hung over as hell. But heading down, right?
Hung like a draft horse, that Brian's up.
If you get my heading down, and there was the lady in the exit row, and she goes, oh, you know what? I don't believe I could. Not an old lady. Just a regular old everyday lady woman. No, I don't believe I could. She's like, and she explained it to her, and she goes, yeah, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And it delayed the flight for a half hour, missed my connecting flight. I eventually got down there, but it cost me an entire day while my friends are texting me pictures like, we're so effed up, man. It's awesome. It's great. I get down there just when everyone's hungover and needs a day of rest. But anyway, exit row stories.
Yeah, I got a early morning flight once, living in Nashville, and I had a gig in Oklahoma City like that night, and for some reason I had to connect through Atlanta. I guess it was probably Delta. That would be a good reason.
Yeah.
And I get to Atlanta. I have like a 5 a.m. flight. I land in Atlanta, still early, crazy, probably, it's a 40-minute flight, but it's still early in the morning. And I'm hustling, and I barely slept. And I get on the plane from Atlanta to Oklahoma City. And as I'm waiting to board, this guy comes up and he goes, Steve, hey, I'm a fan. You're going to the gig. I'm flying to see you guys tonight in Oklahoma. Ooh. I'm like, oh, right on. Good to see you. All right, shooting, blah, blah, blah. I go back. I get an exit row seat where I sit. And then the guy comes down the aisle after me, and he's like, all right, man, I'll see you there. I'm like, all right, have a good flight. And then I'm immediately out cold, just like sleeping as I do on planes. Land in Oklahoma City, get a cab, probably, I guess, to the hotel. Get to the hotel, and tour manager Amy, she calls. She goes, "You have a good flight?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, it looks like it." I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I'm looking at a photo of you, mouth wide open, sound asleep on the flight."
Oh,
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Someone on a Black Rose message board." It's a whole thing about I was just on Gorman's flight, and it's a picture of me, and I'm literally so obviously like snoring obnoxiously loud, mouth wide open, just head back. Just look like I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame on that flight, and I'm like, "Thanks, dude." glad you could post that shot of me
Yeah,
for the
what a
world to
fan.
see.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, it's my best friend.
You get him kicked out of the show. There he is. That son
you know
of a
what?
bitch.
You know what? The next year at a gig, he came up to me, and I didn't remember him by his face. He goes, "Hey, man, you signed a picture?" I said, "Sure." And it was that photo, and he asked me to sign it.
Oh, that's funny.
And of course, I was like, "Well, I can't really say no. That'd make me the biggest douchebag ever." I was like, "Come on, man, what's the matter with you?" But I signed it.
Gonna go ahead and sign this.
Yeah.
F you.
Pretty much.
Thanks for all the memories. Hey, listen, Uber and Lyft. The word on the street is they're going to be split in town on May 1st. That'll get us through St. Patrick's Day. But each year at this time, because St. Patrick's Day is such a big day for ride shares, Uber releases stats on all the stuff people left behind last year. You know, the backpacks, the glasses, headphones, keys, these kinds of things. Some of these are very bizarre and weird. We have the weirdest stuff people have forgotten in their ride shares, not just Uber coming up here. I don't know. Give us about 10, 15 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, March the 15th, St. Patrick's Day weekend. It's the whole weekend when it's on Sunday is upon us. Ho, baby, we're going to be having some fun this weekend. I say that assuming we will. I don't know. I don't really have any plans. I got Blackberry Smoke tonight at Medina. I'll be there. Chauncey Gorman is having surgery this morning.
Oh, good luck, Chauncey.
Had some issues develop over the last few days. It's routine. He should be fine, but throw a little 4-leaf clover Chauncey's way as he's getting that leg fixed. It's just one of those things. So I imagine after tonight. But he's out of the house. Is my point. So we get to go out, see a show tonight, and then pick him up tomorrow. He's got to have an overnight stay at the hospital. So what that means back in the old days was me and Rosemary would just paint the town red. What it means tonight is we'll go see the show, we'll get in bed early afterwards, and we'll just sleep in. Because they'll be like,
Fun.
wait, we don't have to wake up and get him outside with his bad leg. Oh, this is great.
You guys are crazy.
We're living it up, Candace.
Sleeping in.
Tell you what, man, you don't know life till you hit those late 50s and suddenly it all makes sense. You just stop trying. You just go, forget it. It's over. The dream is over. No, it's actually just beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, because it's Friday of St. Patrick's Day weekend, whoo, baby. If you are a regular user of either Uber or Lyft or both, enjoy it because as of May 1st, as of right now, they're both going to be gone. The city council and Mayor Fry here in Minneapolis are battling over what to do about Uber. City council wants Uber and Lyft drivers to get minimum wage at least. The mayor was trying to work something out. It's a cockamamie situation. Both companies say they're done as of May 1st. I think it'll get figured out. There was some back and forth. We talked about it a little earlier in the show. City council trying to slam Lyft and Uber into a corner. And, you don't back baby in a corner when babies from Silicon Valley and, tech billionaires are involved. That's just not how that works.
Yeah.
I think something will happen. I think there will be a bridge developed between now and May 1st. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. We may be a city without those two services within less than 2 months. For this weekend, however, if you're out doing St. Patrick's Day festivities, out drinking, out doing whatever, feel free. Uber and Lyft still rocking. But remember, if you get into an Uber, if you get into a Lyft, check your belongings. Just like when you get off that plane.
Yeah.
And you got the crazy bag from Amazon and you're traveling with it and you don't have to pay extra for the carry-on like Candace was talking about. When you get off a plane, when you get out of your Uber, make sure you're not leaving things behind because Uber has released a list of all the stuff people left behind last year.
Fun.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of normal things you would expect. Phones, wallets,
Done it.
keys,
Yep.
clothing.
Candace.
Someone got in the back seat of that Uber and was like, I can't wait. Let's go right here, right now.
Dignity.
Glasses. Yeah, Dignity's been left behind in more Ubers than not. Glasses, handbag or purse, backpacks, e-cigs, headphones, IDs, basic stuff. That's what
the basic, yeah, right.
That's it. However, However, on this list, there's some items that kind of jumped out to me. You could call me kind of crazy. Let's just go down and look at a few of them. And a Star Wars encyclopedia.
Oh.
A large book of Star Wars information.
Well, I can't believe I left that behind.
Right. I think some of these might have been left behind on purpose. Could
have been.
Like the French bulldog statues I see on the list. You forgot your French bulldog statues, did you?
Yeah, that's. I could see that. And that's this. Like, hey man, it's great to see you. I couldn't help but you were eyeballing my French bulldog statues. Why don't you take them with you? And you're like, thanks, man. And you're like, what the hell was that?
Right.
I like this one. A Burger King visor.
Vintage.
Yeah. Someone got in trouble the next day. Where's your visor at, mister?
Divorce papers. Oops.
Oh my God.
Well, how about marriage certificate? Divorce papers, I get, although those do come in handy. A marriage certificate. Mm-hmm. Left that behind. All right.
Somebody left behind an originally signed Jesse James Decker CD. What? Country singer, correct? Jesse James Decker?
I believe so. Yeah.
Little tiny blonde lady married to a football player, right?
Okay, I'd have to Google it, but I've heard.
I think that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
See, some of these really, one green Birkenstock right shoe.
There's always the one shoe on the street.
You have to wonder. Did you were that sauced? You just walked out of an Uber with one shoe on one foot.
Well, I've done that. Yeah, I woke up. It was a cowboy boot. I don't know what happened. Did I have a rock in it or something? Never retrieved it, and I'm not exactly sure I left it in the ride share. But here's a dark green wool fedora with feathers and a pin. That sounds nice.
It does sound nice. Somebody left behind a flute. Now I know what happened here.
What?
Two people got into that Uber together. They live together. One of them plays the flute. The other said, "I'll get it." And made damn sure to leave it behind.
I've left a lot of stuff in Ubers. The scariest time, though, was when I left my ID in one, or I lost my ID, not knowing it was in the Uber. I found that out eventually. But I was traveling. I was in Austin.
Oh.
And it's like, what do you do if you don't find your
ID? You don't lose it, Missy.
How do you get home? How do you get home? How do you go on the airplane? But I ended up finding it in the Uber. He was super nice. I was on my way into a concert, and he met me outside, and I gave him $20.
Jamaica.
That is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, do you guys know have you ever lost an ID when you were traveling?
No, I've been with someone who has, and guess what they don't do? Let you on the plane.
Wow.
There isn't like, you know what, you seem okay. It happens. Get on. Now you've got to get yourself some ID. You're not flying.
You know, I mentioned this story in the last segment about a flight I took from New York to Denver. The part I didn't tell was one of the guys in the band. That morning, we were it's a crazy trip. This made sense at the time. The tour bus dropped us off in New York City for a day off, and then the next day we were supposed to fly to Denver. And then the bus, because the point was we were going to fly to Denver, do this one-off gig, and then fly back to Washington, D.C. to resume the tour. So the bus dropped us off in New York, and the driver drove on to Washington, D.C., as one does. Our guitar player got into his hotel in New York and then had a great day in the city. And then the next day, as he was getting ready to go to the airport to fly to Denver, was like, my passport and wallet, everything's in my bunk on the bus. Oh, no. He'd somehow had a whole day in New York without recognizing that. No judgment, just saying. That's what he did. And so in order to make a flight, so then our bus driver's just got himself a couple days off and well-deserved rest in D.C. And it's like, hey, the tour manager has to call the bus driver and say, we need Paul's passport here in 5 hours. And he has no choice but to then go rent a car and just race his ass up to New York. Wow. And he's a professional driver. So him, it's like, hey, okay, I'll be right there. She's like, can you grab a train, look at the schedule? And he goes, I'll just rent a car. And so this guy's like 3 days off. He spent one of them driving to and fro New York from D.C. to deliver the passport.
Attaboy.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. They drive. How about this? Left behind in an Uber, a ukulele. Again, just like the flute, the person who owns the ukulele handed it to the person who didn't own it, and the person who did own it said, yeah, I got it, and left it right behind. Because if your name isn't George Harrison, by God, don't play the ukulele around me. It's the only guy who could ever get away with it.
Tiny Tim?
No, please.
Reinvented that instrument, I think. What about this one? It's on the list of things people left behind in their Uber. My brother. That's what it says. Minnie Mouse light up ear, right between Minnie Mouse light up ears and the butcher knife, by the way, left in the back seat. Left your butcher knife behind. Hope they remember their duct tape and rubber gloves, but there it is. My brother.
The word that's missing is my passed out brother.
Yeah.
Of all the cities in America that have Uber, which is most of them, the most forgetful, the city with the most per capita things left behind, Dubois, Pennsylvania.
What?
Dubois, Pennsylvania.
That's not very big.
I'd never heard of it. And then Athens, Georgia, second. That checks out. That's a raging college town. Stillwater, Oklahoma, another college town. Shreveport, another Boone, North Carolina. Okay, all college towns. I guess Dubois must have some sort of school there. There must be a Penn State adjunct, offshoot. Who knows what? I don't even know where Dubois is.
I think Dubois is out in the Appalachians. State College, right there in the middle of the state. Pittsburgh, everybody knows, is out on the west side, on the other side of the app. But I think Dubois is between the two, as in hours from either. But I don't know much about Dubois. In fact, I think they actually say it Dubois. Because I
think you're right. I think I've heard that.
I think it is. It's not far from Puxatawny. Yeah, it's how it gets murdered over the years. But I think it's not far from Puxatawny. Again, someone feel free to correct me on that.
Du Bois. It's like in North Carolina when you see those guys raised. They call them the Mountain Dew Boys down there, and they raise around on mountain.
Imagine what they're leaving behind up in the sticks. That's what we got. The sticks, the Appalachians. That's where it started. Probably in the southern Appalachians, but very much used in Pennsylvania. You hear the sticks all the time, and that they're referring to, out there in the Appalachians, the banjo players.
One more list of towns to share quickly. Wallet Hub just released data. What do we do in Minnesota? Data or data?
Data.
Is that what we do?
I switch it up every time.
It's data unless you're doing a voiceover in downtown Minneapolis. Then it's data.
Okay.
I found.
I like data.
Wallet Hub just released data. What about route or route? Route or route?
Right. Route. You don't go roof or
for
route.
The plant, route for the destination.
She's making it up, but it kind of makes sense.
Okay, just ask. But here's another list of cities, the most obese cities in the United States. Number of factors: percentage of obese adults, percentage of physically inactive adults, access to healthy food, and more. The most obese city in America, McAllen, Texas. Now, McAllen, Texas is right there on the Mexican border, down south of Corpus Christi. I'm just going to tell you right now, I can speak with authority. You can get some incredible Mexican food there. Tex-Mex style.
You'd think, though, that authentic stuff, that goes through me pretty quick. That's like authentic Thai or Indian cuisine, right?
Sure.
I wasn't built for it. I'm built for other things that are cool, but just not eating a food with a fair amount of spice in it. You would think that might keep you slim, but no, you say.
No. Jackson, Mississippi, number 2. I've had some incredible barbecue in Jackson. Shreveport, Louisiana. I've strapped on a feed bag there. Mobile, Alabama. I have absolutely thrown down in Mobile, Alabama. Little Rock, Arkansas. Please, dozy.
I feel like if I want to get obese, I should head south.
What do you eat in Arkansas?
Knoxville, Memphis, Lafayette, Louisiana, or Lafayette, Baton Rouge, Chattanooga. I have strapped on feed bags in every one of those cities.
Good
Give me
job.
some examples. What are some good meals?
Well, I mean, like Little Rock, just like a standard meat and 3. Like that. You see those all throughout the South. That's you go into a restaurant, you order your meat, you put 3 sides on it, and it's like, I'll get like baked chicken and steamed broccoli. No, you won't. You'll get fried chicken. You'll get mashed potatoes and gravy. You'll get green beans just chopped full of with bacon bacon and all kinds of butter, and then maybe
Grits.
just to top it off, excited grits in the morning, sure. Yeah, and then maybe just for the hell of it, an extra order of a chicken fried steak. Whatever you got to get.
Grits, one of my favorite stories being down south. We're in southern Georgia, Scintilla, a little town down there doing some hunting, my dad and I, and we go to a place, and he had the audacity to ask for, could you hold the grits? And this was one of those cafeteria things where you go down and we're having breakfast, and I'm like, sure, I'll take whatever. I just came out of the service. Whatever you put on my plate, I'll be happy to wolf down. But Dad says, no grits for me. And the lady looks up at him, and she's got one of those big ladles, and she dips it in the grits and dumped it all over, covering his plate, and handed it back to him. I thought, that's bull. We're paying for that. And Dad, he did eat it all. He minded his manners.
The least obese city in America is Seattle, Washington. And it's a town I've been to and I enjoy, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it because it's sitting right there on a tee. No, it's all the heroin.
Well, fish and heroin.
Yeah. All that fish and
all
heroin.
That Escalar and heroin.
Very lean populace for sure.
Yeah. Well, they feel like they might be a little more health conscious, granola, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Hikers. I'm going to go with that, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Port towns get all the best drugs.
Yeah, well, that's true, and fish.
They get the best. They get the best drugs. They get the best fish. And back in the 50s and 60s, they got all the best blues records from America. I mean, that's how I explain the Beatles.
I don't know. I'm thinking about Albert Brooks. No, Buddy Guy. That's right. I already forgot Buddy Guy. See, I tell you, it's all
for
that
the first time
memory.
ever.
You mean Albert King, is that?
For the first time.
I said Albert Brooks. I know what I said.
Albert Brooks
I
and Buddy
corrected
Guy
myself
never
for
been
the
confused.
record.
Run for each other until today. We have. That is a magical moment right there.
F the pre-sale. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Friday, March the 15th, which means St. Patrick's Day has officially begun. Go ahead. Get loose today, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, you're off work already, or maybe that's just the four of us. We're about to punch out for the weekend. St. Patrick's Day is Sunday. If you're in between going out and romping around, stomping out and seeing bars and meeting friends and drinking pints of Guinness and whatnot, you might want to take in a film. You want to sit down, pull up the old streaming service. There's some great Irish movies after just listening to You Two Beautiful Day. A lot of them with a musical theme. Do you remember the movie Once? About the guy, he's a singer-songwriter, Glenn, what's his name in real life?
Campbell.
Hansard. Glenn Hansard is a struggling musician, and then there's a woman, an actress who is Czech, I believe, and they start writing songs together. It's a beautiful, probably cost $140 to make that movie. It was just a bunch of, but it was, he's a real singer-songwriter in the Dublin music scene, and then was in Ireland, the girl who'd moved there from Prague, and all the other musicians, all the people in it, all just members of that scene. It's a great little film.
They didn't stay together though.
Well, but that's okay. I mean,
there's a heartbreak.
Is that a spoiler?
It's been out long enough. 2007. There was a movie much more recently, probably less than 10 years ago, called Sing Street. That's another good one. Another good Irish kids trying to make music in Ireland. Of course, The Commitments. I have that movie Once about the buskers. I have a buddy who had moved to Ireland in the summer of '99. And he has a great story, to my mind anyway. He spent the late 80s and 90s in a jam band from New York City called God Street Wine. They made records. They toured all over. Yeah. They played in this area many times. God Street Wine, really good band. The drummer is a buddy of mine named Tomo. He's one of my closest friends. And in 1999, he got this phone call. His band had just broken up, or they just, ceased operation. And he's like, what was I in 1999? I was 34. So he was like 30, and he was going to go back to college. He was like, you know what? I guess the music thing isn't going to work. I'm going to go back to school. And he loved golf, and he loved agriculture, and he thought, I'll be a greenskeeper. I'm going to get a degree and learn course management, and I'll just work at golf courses and take care of take care of golf courses and the greens and the fairways and a whole bit. So he's got this plan. He gets a call from a promoter he knew who said, hey, I got this thing in Ireland I'm cooking up. Do you want to go to Ireland for the summer? Tomo says, what's the gig? He goes, it's going to be like a blues rock band, and we're going to put a band together, a bunch of American musicians. The singer is Irish. I'm going to get a bunch of guys I know from the States to back him. And then every week we'll go out and just do like a 4-night run or a 3-night run of Irish pubs all over Europe.
God.
And he's like,
who says no to that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because he called me and he tells me about it. He goes, what do you think? And I'm like, what do I think? Do you want to switch gigs? Let's go. Like, I'd do that gig. And he goes, yeah, I don't know, man. A summer in Europe. I'm like, dude, I remember saying, you don't even have a cat. What are you waiting on? Go. So he takes the gig, and we're on the phone talking. I'm like, man, it's going to be awesome. And then I was going to be on tour in Europe. I was like, I will see you. We're playing Dublin this summer. This will be great. I'm all excited. That's the summer I got sick as a dog. And so he calls me after he's been in Ireland like a week. And he goes, just checking in, man. It's kind of cool, but we started rehearsing. And then the guy came in and said, okay, we're not doing Europe. It's actually just the UK and Ireland. And I'm like, same gigs? He goes, same number of gigs? He goes, yeah. I said, are you still getting paid? He goes, yeah. And I said, do you have a plane ticket home already? And he goes, yeah, I do have that. I said, dude, have fun.
You're great.
A couple days later, get another call. He goes, it's just Irish pubs in Ireland. And I'm like, okay, now we're getting a little. I said, you still have a plane ticket, right? Call the airline, make sure that ticket's good. The next day, he calls and goes, the whole thing fell apart. There's no tour, nothing. And I'm like, oh, dude, you haven't even, you'd been there like a week, maybe 10 days. The whole thing fell apart. But he was in this town, Kilkenny, and he goes, well, there's like 4 pubs in this one neighborhood and 2 bands to cover all 4 pubs, and there's only one drummer for both bands, and I think I can get a gig just kind of goofing around, and I thought I'd stay and play some golf. And I'm like, yeah, of course, yeah, it's still fine. As long as you have a plane ticket home, just wait till you run out of money and then come home. But so he starts playing local pub gigs. He's a great drummer. He's making a fortune in tips. Everybody loves him. This American drummer just drops into the little town out of nowhere. He's everyone's favorite guy. So he ends up staying like a month. And he's like, this is really cool. He's getting ready to come back home. I'm trying to keep this short, but it's good. Trust me, there's a payoff. Says, I haven't been to Dublin yet. I'm going to go into Dublin for a weekend. See what I think. Takes the train to Dublin. On the Friday night, he gets to town. He walks down through a shopping district, and there's a busker. There's a dude standing there playing guitar, playing for tips. And Tomo walks by and goes, man, guy's got a hell of a voice. Huh. Stops and listens for a minute and goes, that's a pretty cool song. I wonder if that's his. I've never heard it. That'd be amazing if it's this guy's song. Goes on about his day, comes back an hour later, the guy's still standing there playing. Second time by, Tomo stops, listens to a few songs, walks up and says, hey, man, you sound great. The guy's like, oh, thank you. And he goes, are these your songs? He goes, yeah. And he goes, wow, I mean, these are beautiful. This is great. Do you have any recordings? He goes, no, I'm trying to get a session together, down on his luck, doesn't have a pot to piss in. And Tomo, the American drummer who's been in the business a while and trying to figure out the rest of his life, says, well, man, if there's a cheap studio in town, I'm a drummer and I'm down in Kilkenny, but I'll come back next weekend if you can find a session. And I know a bass player who's pretty good. Let's do some demos. Like, these songs should be heard. You should get a chance. Wow. He's just literally enamored with the music itself. Guy says, you do that for me? Okay. A week later, Tomo and his buddy, who's a bass player, drive back or take the train back to Dublin, meet the guy. He's got this little hole-in-the-wall studio. Tomo pays for the session himself. They go in and cut it. The dude's name is Damien Rice.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ed Sheeran.
Damien Rice. And they start cutting what turned out to be his first album. He says, well, let's be a band. And they're like, great. And he goes, and then they said, well, it's your songs. We'll call it Damien Rice. But much like the original Alice Cooper, it's a name, but it's a band. They were partners. They split everything. They go in, they make this record themselves for cheap, just on the nothing. and they get a record deal in Ireland, but then for every other territory in the world, they licensed the deal and owned it, and they sold 9 million records.
Yeah, that's huge.
And what that means in 2003 and $4 is they all made a fortune. And Damien Rice that album was everywhere. Remember the movie Closer?
Yeah, sure.
Can't take my eyes off of you. And it was all, and so my buddy who went over to, spend a summer in Ireland drinking Guinness and hopefully playing golf and playing pubs, a year later, he's doing this thing and touring the world with the Grammy new best artist and the whole thing. And they went around the world for like 3 years, and they sold 9 million or 10 million records worldwide.
Oh, cool.
Incredible story.
The American dream.
The American dream. We had to go to Ireland to get it. That's exactly right. But it just goes to show, man, if you see a busker and he's a little Irish guy and he's got a good song, maybe take a minute. Have a chat. Yeah, it's pretty great. I love that story. Almost as much as the story I told you on the show, he's the guy whose second baby was delivered in the backseat of their Volvo, racing to the ambulance in the middle of the night in Ireland. So, yeah, he ended up in Ireland, married a gal, and then they ended up having a baby on a country road in a Volvo. So, you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take the yin with the yang, the scary with the isn't this cool. A lot of both in Ireland, for sure.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's a great tale.
Hey, it could be worse. It could have been that guy was a serial killer and not Damien Rice. Just saying. I mean, you never know how these things are going to work. But the Irish love their music. They love their beer. They love everything. I'm a big fan. I haven't been to Ireland in over 20 years. Only been there a few times, like 3 or 4 times. But boy, do I always enjoy it. And I've really got to get back. And anytime Zep mentions the fact that he went there to do radio, it just galls me. Come on.
3 years, yeah, that was fantastic. Wally Walker, our midday guy here, for about 48 years. Was over there for many, many years, and then he passed the baton, and I just happened to be standing in the room, and you want to go over to Dublin? It was 40 radio stations from 20 different countries. The Jameson Global Broadcast from the old Jameson Distillery in downtown Dublin there, yeah. And in fact, we, KQ, for many, many years had the seat of honor because Minneapolis, St. Paul, the two cities, the twin cities of just those two, not the suburbs, just Minneapolis and St. Paul, consumed more Jameson than any other cities in the United States.
I remember that.
The most Jameson consumed.
Really?
Yeah, it was consumed right in good old Minneapolis and St. Paul. Like, I counted it as one. People would be like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, well, it's still like, an eighth the size of New York or Chicago or something like that, 10th the size perhaps. And so you would sit up actually on a pedestal. You'd be elevated like your own drum stage. You would have felt right at home up there. And then you had all those other countries, had Russia to my right. The Japanese kids loved me for some reason. I don't know what it was, but they interviewed me. I didn't understand what they're like. Can we interview you? I'm like, no, I'm just a DJ. They said, yeah, we'll interview you. Mumford and Sons came and played. Who else did we have play there? Yeah, just a bunch of fun bands came over and played for you. But it was a good time, and it was. And you got a Jameson or two. They just started feeding you right away in the morning.
Well, we got a year to make this happen. I don't think we're going to make it for this year. I don't think we're going to get there by Sunday. But man, what do we got to do? Let's get that all going again.
Yeah, that's a wild time, and some very fond memories and broadcasting live. And I would always get up the next morning after the big St. Patrick's Day broadcast, and having been out probably all night, an hour of sleep, and call the program director back here at that time and say, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I kind of remember what happened on the air yesterday, but listen, you know what? I'm gonna clean my act up. When I get back, I'm going to go right into treatment. And he'd be like, it was fine. It was all right. It was okay. We dumped a lot of it. We hung it. You weren't even on for the last hour. I wasn't?
You're an inspiration.
I was drinking on air one time, right when I started doing radio. It was Sports Talk Radio. 2009, went to the Kentucky Derby and got set up like on Media Row over the finish line. I wasn't on the air for the race itself, but the afternoon, Saturday afternoon. This is me at Churchill Downs with two buddies, and it's just going back to a station in Nashville, and we did a 3-hour pre-race, just us goofing off at Churchill Downs, and we were just pounding mint juleps. Because I figured, well, this radio thing ain't gonna last long. I might as well have fun, go out with a bang. And like at one point, there's a marching band in the infield playing, and I was calling them they were the marching Babas, and I had turned into I was a Baba. A spiritual guru for the Churchill Downs, and the marching Babas came in to pay tribute. We just had so much shtick going. There's no way in hell anybody listening had any idea what we were trying to convey. And we were just raging, and the mint juleps there were just going down like mother's milk.
That's another trip we have to take.
It really is. Yeah, it's the best. You want to see like snake handling Pentecostal preachers,
yes,
and like goth kids walking together on the street. Go to the Kentucky Derby. The greatest, as I heard someone describe Talladega as, that's the most intense collection of Southern misfits you'll ever see. And I took him at his word, but then I went to the Kentucky Derby and I said, there's no way anything tops this. It's completely crazed. Speaking of all the Jameson, generally speaking, according to the National Retail Federation, Americans will spend $7.2 billion this weekend, St. Patrick's Day, about $44 per American. Most of that on food and beverages, and of course, most of that on beverages.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
62% of Americans, that's 162 million Americans, do plan to celebrate by either simply wearing green, having a special dinner, or going to a bar or hosting a party. I imagine a lot of us are going to do all of the above.
Yeah, I usually save my big drunk for the Donnie Smith Bike Show next weekend, but
you got to practice. You got to get in shape for it.
Get the liver in shape. You know what? I don't know that we're going to get too crazy this year, but each year I do make and maybe next year we'll have to get you guys involved with this, my Shamrock Shakes. And they'll make you close one eye when you're drinking one of these. They don't come from McDonald's. You get some cream de menthe going, some Bailey's Irish cream, a little Jameson, some ice, some heavy whipping cream, cherries, maybe a few sprinkles for decoration. Oh, yeah. They'll set you straight. Yeah. Yeah, put a little hair on your chest.
Yeah, I don't. If I say yes, I'm all in. That's just radio shtick. I'm actually afraid of what you just described.
I'm not even handing you the glass of Shamrock Boozy Sham Shake, I call it. I'm just handing you the entire blender. I'm just gonna hand you the pitcher. Okay. Drop a straw in it. Set you in a nice, comfortable spot. Get your feet up. We'll put on a nice Irish movie for you.
All right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah, you want to come over and watch the Lindsay Lohan movie?
and watch what?
Snuggle with Gigi. Irish Wish.
No, I'm not watching the new Lindsay Lohan vehicle.
Is it Wish or Witch?
AI. I just saw a review on Facebook. It said that the script is AI. So, my son Connell, quite the Irish name right there, Connell James. He was with us for a week. He has already, as of this morning, landed in New York City. He and his 22 and 23-year-old friends in the city for the weekend.
Look out!
They'll probably get a lot of work done. I imagine they'll be at the gym most of the time. Right.
And you don't want that call in the middle of the night, Dad, I'm having a great time, because until you pick up the phone. My daughter was famous for that when she was a bit younger, would go hit all the big parties, the spring breaks. She did Chicago for St. Patrick's Day, that sort of thing, and was very fond of calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning and telling me what a great time she was having. But that's not what that 5 beat until phone, dropped it on the floor, picked it up and answered it. I was like, don't call me tomorrow when you're hungover and tell me what a great time you've had. Text me if you'd like. I'll get that in the morning, but you're scaring the jeepers out of your old man.
That's how it goes. Everybody have a great St. Patrick's Day weekend. Right now, before we send you off Stein in hand, how about a history lesson?
I love history.
I'm going to tell you something that I learned.
Do it. Go ahead.
Tell me, Steve.
Oh, I'll tell you what I learned on 1869. Okay, 1869 is, that's a really, really, really long time ago. The Cincinnati Reds, at that time known as the Cincinnati Red Stockings, beat Antioch College 41-7. That game was significant because the Cincinnati Red Stockings were the first baseball team to ever play completely composed of professionals. Every member of that team was paid money to play. Average annual salary, $950. Which, again, it's 1869. I got to think that was a pretty good penny, especially to do something called baseball that nobody had any idea what in the hell was really going on. $950 back then. Well, that's, it's about 20 grand. Okay, not that big a deal. All right, never mind. I thought it was going to be more than that.
I thought it was $1 million.
No, yeah, one would have hoped.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.